Smith has some room. No, brought down nicely. Ball's down, and that's Urlacher with it. Down to the 50. He's got to beat the quarterback. Hesitates, and he's going to go all the way.
This is 365 Sports.
Just outside the 35-yard line. Peterson, the freshman, cutting back. He's going to get there. First touchdown of his career, Adrian Peterson.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Barner is back deep again for the Ducks, and this is a beautiful punt. Back to the 50 and running backwards, loose, free ball, touchdown, LSU. Matthew picks it up and runs in, and LSU strikes.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Favre rolling and throwing under pressure, and it's intercepted. Dion, he may score right away. It is Sanders for the touchdown.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
White, darts up the middle. Pat White in the open field. Pat White to the house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, good afternoon on this Thursday. Already now 3 days into the great month of April, and played golf a little bit this morning. And is there anything better at times than the spring after a rain when you have people mowing their yards? The smell of fresh cut grass. Of course, in baseball stadiums, they do that. Random as hell, I saw that, brought that up. But man, all the guys were out there trimming various parts around the course. People in backyards mowing their lawns. It was fantastic. Didn't play well, but I hope you've had a really good day today. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak are with me, 365 Sports, every day between 3 and 6. We appreciate you for being a part of the show as you are. Later on, we're going to have some audio. I think it was Bracket Cat that brought this to my attention. Chris Kleiman brought this up when we had him on 2 or 3 weeks ago about the transfer portal and a place like K-State that really does very well at targeting players that are overlooked, and even walk-ons that become really good players. A couple of comments from him and also from Kirby Smart. You would think that, guys, Craig and Paul, that Georgia, Alabama, and Texas and Ohio State, they don't care where all of this goes. They're already the ones that have most of the money. So what do they care if they have to, oh, my God, get more money and spend it? But Kirby Smart says that even at Georgia, he's really concerned about a couple of things and the way things are going.
Well, I mean, when does it stop? That's the question is, so you have to get a control over things. Like, even though they have a bunch of money, the more people grab it, the less they're going to be. And if they just have to keep spending and spending and spending and spending and spending, and then, sports is not like there's not a guarantee on anything, but it's not like a business model where if I spend this much money, I'm guaranteed this level of output of success. Like if you were selling something and you knew how much it costs, this much to make this table. As long as we sell at least this many tables every year, we'll be fine. Some years we'll sell more tables, some years we'll sell less, but as long as it's not less than the minimum, we can. Well, sports doesn't work like that. Like, you can't set as long as we win this many games a year, we're guaranteed to do this, you can't set a floor on anything. The rug can get pulled out from you at any given moment. So it's so unpredictable that you have to be able to plan for things. And right now, because of all the fluctuations, it makes it really hard to plan just in a financial sense for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of that. I don't think it's all just financial, though. I mean, I think there's multi-parts to this that's more than just I need money. I think it's the transfer portal sucks. I think it's the dates of everything sucks. The lack of spring scrimmages for some coaches sucks. This is what I'll say, man. This is basically a college football show, and it has been. We talk other sports sometimes and all that, and I think we're getting back to more of that, which is great just because it keeps it fresh. But I'm not like sickos committee, like give me the over under on the Tuesday night, like getting like so into the weeds that it's like all that I care about. But I do love college football a lot. It's my number one sport. Like if you said pick one sport to watch and that's all you get all year long, baseball would be tempting just because it's so long, right? But that'd be my number two. College football would be my number one. And I say this as a college football fan. There is no other sport that has spent as much time over the most tedious, ridiculous, stupid decision-making and non-decision-making. We talk about this stuff nearly every day. It's ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. And so I get it. They're upset about it. Like, yeah, I bet they are because there's a lot of stuff going on or not going on that the coaches of the sport, the most powerful coach arguably over the last few years in the sport, not named the guy who just retired, he's complaining openly about it every few months. They're all complaining about it. We're complaining about it. The fans are complaining about it. And then we'll be told by people who have vested interest in the TV side of things, oh, but look at the ratings. Mm-hmm. It's as popular as ever. And while that may be true, I think, there's obviously issues that are ongoing with college sports and particularly college football that I just don't know how we can keep up talking about it the way that we are, because I sure as hell don't want to, and much less be the people who actually are directly affected by it. We're looking at it from an outsider fan perspective and are worn out by it. So you can imagine how a Kirby Smart, even with resources galore, feels, or a Chris Kleiman without resources galore feels. And I just don't know how anybody spins this as being positive for the sport, near or long term. But I'm sure I'll hear next December, but look at the semifinal rating and how it popped, and so everything's fine. That's great. We'll hear about how great the TV ratings are for the playoff for about 4 weeks, and then the remainder of the 48 weeks, we'll hear everybody bitching about how the sport sucks in some form or fashion. So they got major problems on their hands that is not going to kill anything necessarily, except for maybe a few programs here and there. But yeah, I mean, I get it. They're upset. Everybody's upset. I think I'm just tired of everybody bitching about it. Like, who do we go to make a decision to change some of these things? And I guess some of it takes time. But, yeah, I'm sure they're upset about something because every day it's something that somebody's upset about.
Yeah, you'd just like to know, what are the rules? There aren't any. It doesn't seem as if there are.
We've just been having that combo for 3 years as well. Yeah. Like, we want guardrails. Yep. We want I get it. Yeah, we do. We want guardrails and all that. But, look, guys, they're not – we've had that conversation 1,000 times. I don't know who changes that. The coaches. Yeah. And then I hear, the presidents. Well, the presidents – who's in charge? And if you're in charge, don't you think you should probably talk to your football coach? Or are you just going and making decisions that are all monetary based? I don't know, but we're having this conversation way too often, and so are the coaches, and so is everybody involved. And so, cool, the playoffs were really popular in this first 12-team playoff. Let's see if that holds over the next 5 years. And maybe it does because they put all these big brands together and you just by default get 3 million viewers on average because the New Jersey market's playing the Philadelphia market or however the hell you want to spin it. But damn, man, I do not blame a lot of people when they just say, I'm out. I don't care about the minutia of it all because it's just spinning wheels and the people who are in charge are pointing the finger at the other people who are in charge and nobody's doing anything about anything except for throwing out this dream scenario that they've been also throwing out for 3 years. The people who have the power technically don't because they need the government to give them what they want, even though the government has shown absolutely zero sign of doing such. But guess what we'll hear in a few weeks? They're really hopeful that these meetings will bring about some positive change and we'll just do this all over again.
Who's the new president? The NCAA president? What's his name? Charlie Baker.
He's not
Dr. Livingstone, who, of course, is a part of the upper part of the NCAA. They keep mentioning that. Nothing's changed. Nothing but wasted time at these meetings and hearings or whatever else. And, Craig, I agree. I don't even care if I don't like the new guidelines, guardrails, or rules. I don't care. I just want to know what they are. Yeah, and we're just the ones covering it.
But what's going on with the leadership in college football is they know that they've gone to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you got a tumor. We can remove it, but there's going to be a pretty sizable scar that you'll notice from what you're used to. And they're like, well, I don't want a scar.
They go to Val Kilmer out and going, well, I'll just do it naturally, and I hope that orange juice will solve my cancer.
All that. So, you'll have You'll have it, we can take it out. Like, no, I'll will it out. It'll be fine. I don't want to scar. I don't want it to be different. Like, no, we know how to fix this. It's not going to be fun for you, but, you guys kind of had your fun.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that was the direct comparison or not, and that's not even why Val necessarily died in the end. But, like, he did explore what he was like a Christian Scientist, I think is what it was, and so he didn't explore, at least initially, traditional treatment, and so that's where that crosses over in my mind. But nevertheless, I look at that as the powers that be basically hoping for some like non-traditional route to come and just and save the day and save them. And I just feel like we've been talking about that same thing for 3 years now, and there's no indication that that's going to change. Now, maybe, who the hell knows in politics, maybe just on Thursday next week, like just something dropped out of nowhere or something. Maybe that magic parachute flies in, but I doubt it. And I'm just at this point fed up with hearing the same narrative about we need some guardrails in place. Yeah, you probably do. Everybody would love that, but there's no sign that's coming. So, all right, what's next? I mean, because it's just spinning wheels.
All right, so I tell you what I want to do there, Garrett. Let's go to Kleiman, okay? It's a couple of minutes with Chris Kleiman. I don't know if you guys tell me if this is the part about what you said, Paul. If somebody has cancer, they can take it out or whatever. I had surgery. I had my prostate removed. I didn't have the odds were pretty good that I would probably not get cancer, but my oldest brother had it. You guys know that story. But I had to make a decision. And if I wouldn't have made a decision, every night I go to bed, I have to think about maybe all of a sudden the capsule leaks. So those are some things, at least I knew the rules. Either have it removed and there are going to be some after effects, or don't, and hope to God that you don't wake up one day with a gun in your head because you're going to die because you're eaten up with cancer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing is that they're putting off the surgery that they need that could solve it pretty quickly with collective bargaining. I say pretty quickly. Quicker than it's going right now.
Oh, well, I mean, here's the thing. You want a guardrail? That's a guardrail.
Yeah.
That's an actual, that would actually do something. Now, I'm sure somewhere there's some dude who's an online lawyer that will tell me that, that would just spark this round of lawsuits. And that's the issue we run into every time.
But if it's collectively bargained.
But that would actually be something substantial.
So, when NFL players or professional athletes get mad and sue, say, I don't want this, I don't like this, I was they were in breach of this, it's complicated because they say, well, you, as a member of this union, this group, agreed to this. Your union voted on it. So, anyway, Smuggy, you need to move your cough button off your power supply there. We're getting a little...
I'll get a little buzzed. Okay, there we go. And I don't use it when I'm about to cough. I didn't do it yesterday. I got a dirty look. By the way, so here's from your pet cat, Meow. The only fix that I can see is if fans of the teams that will benefit the most emphatically demand it to stop. That's the only solution I can think of. I even think if you're a UT, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, whoever fan, even though things are going really well for you and you have all the money and you're going to get more and you have more of the spots and all the power, I still think even those fan bases, you can tell us in the chat, I would think you're still a little bit perturbed that you don't know the rules. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I think the ones that are eating the best are going to be the happiest most of the time. And so those schools are more apt to be okay with maybe the things that are going on or more relaxed about it than the schools who are alarmed and feeling, super threatened by it all. So I'm sure depending on where you go, they'll have a bit of a different take. But I think everybody under the surface or even above surface will all at least parrot the same lines of not enjoying what's going on. Like you just might have a different level of dissatisfaction because you're better off so it doesn't affect you as much as it affects, TCU or something like that if you're a Georgia. But clearly it's still affecting him to the point that Kirby Smart's bitching about it, and he's had 2 or 3 sessions where he's complained about things not being exactly the way that he would like them. So I just, today with what Kleiman said and Kirby Smart recently, I feel like it's okay to talk about. But I do not want to do this game all summer and offseason of what if they don't change the rules? Because, we've just been there, done that.
We're going to hear from them in a second.
Yeah. Here's what your cat meows, the fundamental problem that is. One, getting everybody to agree on something like that is impossible. It's impossible. Secondly, when it comes to major sports brands, now this isn't true for minor things, but the Lions didn't sell out their stadium for years and years and years, but they kept getting money from the TV. Like, they were making money, so and the other part of it is, I'll use a team that's, historically got a better record than the Cowboys. All right, if you decide I'm had it with the Jones family and the way that they run this team, and I'm canceling my season tickets, you know what happens as soon as you cancel those? Somebody who doesn't care as much as you do or feel the same way will buy them. There's no, there's just, it's like mushrooms. You kick over one and a bunch more grow. So you can't really fight that when it comes to this. That's something that's so popular that you're trying to get your handle on. All the fans agreeing to, hey, we've got to stop this.
From Conundrum, collective bargaining would establish the players as employees and subject the schools to taxation.
Yeah, that's why they're not doing it. I mean, that's the entire reason why we're having this stupid conversation again for the 100th time, and there's coaches bitching again for the 100th time. And look, I get it. I'm not trying to be like, a D about it or anything, but it's just like I feel like it's like deja vu. And we've had Kirby Smart go to a podium more than a couple times and talk about this. And you're right. The conversation inevitably turns to exactly what you just said. There's the fix for a lot of the problems. But guess what? The people bitching about it are the ones that don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So how are you as a football coach sitting here? So that's where I wondered yesterday when I saw Kirby Smart is so what are you telling your president? What do you tell your athletic director? Or what do you tell your athletic director, and then what does the AD then go and say to the Georgia president? And then what does the Georgia president then go and do, and who does he talk to, and who does he, communicate with? Because I see an AD complaining about the way things are. Well, you guys have say in how this gets solved. It's just that y'all don't like the solution. That's all that it is. There is a solution. You just don't like it.
The ADs don't have a lot. It's
I know, but what I'm saying is so the coaches talk to the ADs.
Right,
The ADs, what I'm saying is the ADs go talk to the presidents. And the presidents go and talk to whoever, the lawyers or the politicians or whoever, and they do their song and dance, and we get back to the same conversation. And what I'm saying is all these people are talking about it. Clearly the president's here, and at some point the athletic director doesn't like it, or the football coach doesn't like it, or any of the number of other sports coaches don't like it. And then we're going to hear at some point those coaches complaining again. It's so somewhere along the way, the people who do have an opportunity to carry those complaints over and into a place where you get those complaints solved are refusing to do so because it reaches a level where they go, oh, crap, the money would be affected.
Yeah.
And that's why nothing gets fixed. So, this is why the conversation's especially frustrating is because there is a fix. You just don't like the fix, and you want your cake and you want to eat it too. Therefore, college football fans have an inferior product when it comes to just the ability to enjoy what's going on or off the field, and all this chaos is ongoing, and everybody's going, oh, my God, it's so crazy. It's crazy because they don't want to sacrifice some of their power, bottom line.
When you see the big sports have a strike, a union walks or the owners lock them out or whatever, you know what? Eventually there's a deadline. They make it happen. There's been a couple of years affected by that, and then it doesn't happen again for 10 or 12 or 15 years. College football, it's every month. And that doesn't even include the college football playoff, and a note about that in a moment. So here's Chris Kleiman. He mentioned some things when we had him on about walk-ons, such an important factor. He's worried about them. Here's Chris Kleiman yesterday, K-State football coach.
Off the field, I still think the industry of college athletics is a disaster. It just is. Between the lines, I think it's great. During this month of April, not our decision as coaches, not our decision at Kansas State, but the industry-wide decision because of the House settlement, because of different legality things and litigation. We got to remove a lot of kids from the program, and it sucks. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of kids that want to be here, want to stay here, that we can't have in the program, and kids that are paying their way, kids that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this place, kids that are invested academically, and now those kids got to make a choice. And it's frustrating to me because I don't understand why the number came of 105. Why didn't we kind of slowly bring it down? And I don't even know who decided it, but as a lot of us coaches talk about it, we're not in those meetings. We're not in the rooms. The practitioners, the guys that have their boots on the ground every day, aren't in the meetings that decide some of these things. I'm sure it happens in other sports as well, but in football in particular. But make no mistake, I'm not in favor of this at all. We got a lot of kids that want to be in the program that are not going to be able to be in the program. Then we have the transfer portal also happening in the month of April. And there's some positive to that with kids that maybe are not going to make your 105 that have the opportunity to go on and play somewhere. I think that's great. The negative, which you guys all know and can assume, is our best players are getting contacted every day right now. And it may be not them in particular, but it's going to be their agent saying, hey, we're looking for this position. We lost somebody in spring ball. We're looking for that position. We lost somebody in spring ball. Or we have some excess money we've got to dump. Let's go get this kid. And so this month of April is going to be craziness. And I want to make sure that we get our football stuff done, but also realize what happens if you lose a kid in spring ball. Well, now you got to make a decision on that kid. Because if he's not going to be a part of your 105, is there an injured reserve? Have you guys found that out? I don't know. Is there a practice squad? I don't know. I don't think any of those things have been talked about, or if they have, we don't know about them as coaches, but we're not in any of those meetings. And so a lot of us are in the industry are really frustrated because a lot of these decisions are made without our input.
I don't know how they came about that number, the 105, and you just heard at the end, we're not in those meetings. And that is what, Craig, you just mentioned, and Paul, we mentioned, and how we've discussed it. The ones who are the ones that deal with it, the boots on the ground, as Chris Kleiman said, they're the ones that are not even in the meetings.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to his point as well, like he covered a lot of ground there. And so my all-encompassing, hey, if you made them employees, that fixes a lot of it. It doesn't fix everything. It doesn't fix the transfer portal window or maybe things like that. So there's not one magic hand you can wave and everything is all of a sudden great. But, I mean, I see very easily why you could assume that Nick Saban retired early. I can see why people were speculating about Chris Kleiman last year. I can see why some guys might want to make the move. He's right, though. The on-the-field product, that's why the ratings were great, not because of all the crap surrounding it. It's because of the fact you had some really good teams. And I think just the portal has made things more interesting. It's just the way that it's used, the timing of it. The dates of it and all of that, the constant tampering that he's referring to there. Like, I don't know how they shut that down, but that is a massive problem as well. And so that wouldn't be solved by, necessarily just the magic wave of the hand of coming to an agreement on employee status. Like, it wouldn't fix every little thing, obviously, but I do think it would go a long way. And I know that there's also concerns about that. Like, what would happen to all the rest of the sports? And so I don't think schools are totally doing that because it's not like, I don't think that they're refusing to go all the way with employee status purely out of selfishness. I think that's 98% of it. I do think there is the 2% of it that's like, oh, crap, what would happen to everything else and how would softball be affected and things like that. But, it just sucks to have these off-season conversations every offseason now. He's right. The on-the-field product's awesome. Yeah. The college football season kicked ass. The expanded playoff, for as much being and moaning by a lot of blue checks as there were for the first round of the playoffs, I think everybody's opinion had shifted by the next couple of rounds. And we're like, oh, wow. Like, once we got past that first weekend, like, this was pretty cool. And so there's a lot to love about the on-the-field, as he said. But, yeah, the off-the-field is an absolute disaster. And so for as much as it does fuel this show at times, it's as equally tiring to talk about the same damn issue over and over again every offseason. And much less deal with it like he is. Like, he's actually – like, I'm just sitting here complaining about it.
He doesn't even know if you can, put a guy into the injured reserve or
he doesn't know – he doesn't even know the rules of the sport that he has coached for, decades now. And I'm sitting here I'm not really – like probably as emotional about this as I'm coming across. I'm just frustrated because I'm tired of talking about the same thing. So I can only imagine how he, being directly influenced by it, just got off the practice field and his star quarterback's getting a phone call from so-and-so or DM'd by who and who over at Texas, whatever university. Yeah, I can only imagine their level of frustration's off the charts, which is why we see them blowing like geysers, every few weeks when they get an opportunity in front of the media to finally get some of this off their chest.
All right.
And to his point of they don't have the experts in the room, this is a common thing with big business where the money people will make the decision. Now they'll commission a report, right? That's what all these people, they commission a report and the experts do a report and they go, here, do this. And then they go through the report and they find the part where they don't like it. And they're like, we're not going to do that. Or we're going to do it this way because we're going to make it fit in. And then the people who are the experts on it are like, well, that's not what I said at all. Like, that's not what I said at all, because, again, when money is the only thing driving the ship and not common sense, then you have the money people that are like, well, no, we're not going to listen to the people who know exactly what they're talking about. We're going to do it our way, and then we'll make it seem like we listen to them.
All right, so thank you, guys. Appreciate both of you and the passion, and even Eric said animation. You're animated, and that's great. Transparency. I don't know how you could be. Paxton brought that up. Transparency. I think there's transparency, but nobody knows really what they're looking at, because think about it. The football coach at K-State doesn't know if he can hide players, not hide them, but put them in an injured reserve or on a practice squad to offset the 105 if 7 guys get hurt during spring. What happens to them? They disappear? So that's the coach saying it. Then you have Kirby Smart, who's at Georgia. Powerful. Part of the SEC. One of the top 5 programs in the country pretty much year in and year out. And here's Kirby Smart on today's college football.
I think everybody's got to take a big pause right now and say deep breath, because of what's going on with basketball right now is crazy. And we don't know everything that's going to come out with April 7th, which might be April 7th. We might be the settlement date where we get a lot more information. But, everybody's on pins and needles because we don't know exactly what's going to come out of this. What I do know is that we're going to continue to recruit people who love football, who are passionate about football, and that don't put money as the number one answer. Like, I've never met a really good player that's all they cared about. So, like, the 105 number, the NIL number, what's the cap number, what is this going to be? There's stuff going on right now, guys, in college football. I mean, there's people reaching out to have a Zoom call and present all the players they represent that are on teams, including our teams. And they want to invite people to the Zoom so they can watch and see who's going in the portal or shopping who's in the portal before the portal. Do you want to get on the Zoom and look at all these players? I'm like, well, what if some of them are mine? I mean, it could be one of the most legendary, moments in all of college sports with what's coming up on this ruling and how people are going to try to manipulate a cap when all we're trying to do is make for competitive balance. And it's really unfortunate that I don't know if competitive balance is going to come out of it. I don't know if the kids win in this model that we currently have, if they win long term. Like long term, when we have to cut sports and cut other things, are the kids going to be the winners of this? I don't know. College sports been around a long time and given many an opportunity. And by all means, I want these kids to make money. But what's going on right now is not good for anybody.
All right, so you've heard from Chris Kleiman and Kirby Smart.
I don't totally agree with him at all.
I think you and I are going to be of like mind on this.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with him at all. I think the Georgia wide receiver making $500,000 is well better off than he was otherwise, and I don't think he gives a damn about whether the swimmer has a scholarship or not. There are people that are benefiting from it. It's just, not everybody's going to be happy about the entire situation. You can't make everybody happy about the way they're getting fed these days, but there are a lot of people that are getting fed better than they've ever been fed before. They're having lobster and steak where they were having ramen noodles. Now, unfortunately, the tennis team's eating ramen noodles, but that's not the quarterback's fault. It's not Carson Beck's fault with his dual vehicles and his Miami beach house or whatever he's got going on these days. There's a lot of people that are eating just fine, and a lot of people on his football team that are doing
He's
much
making
better for
$10,
themselves.
$13 million a year.
His job's, and like, I'm not, this is not anti-Kirby, but he's under no threat. The only thing that would cost him his job is if he lost games or did something so scandalous. Like, obviously he's had troubles in his program, but nothing to the extent that has gotten him booted. So it would have to be super scandalous. So he's fine. So, like, he's lamenting like his dog just died, when in reality, he's like the most untouchable dude on that campus when it comes to sports. So I think there's a little bit of a putting on there because he doesn't like the way things are going because it's not the way he would like to see them. But the whole, like, I don't know about the long-term future. The tight end who's now made $250,000 that he otherwise wouldn't have made is better set long-term than he was before when he was making the same as the volleyball player. Mm-hmm. Like, so I don't totally agree with him at all on that. And I do think there's a little bit of a putting on of the woe is us when it's like, dude, you make like $12 million a year. So I don't feel that bad for you, honestly. I do feel bad, though, for the golf team and for those people. But, we just got to come to grips with it's not going to be the way that it was. Like, it's not going to be kumbaya. Like, and that's unfortunate. But, yeah, just hearing it from Kirby Smart is just a little bit different to take than hearing it from a Chris Kleiman even.
And he's having his cake and eating it, too, there a little bit in that, okay, you as the highest paid state employee, Kirby, could take less to make sure that the tennis and golf and swimming teams have some money if you wanted. But he shouldn't have to. Again, not his fault. Like, he is there. But them keeping him there and keeping him paid to the level of his equal competitors, that's the mart of competitive commerce. Like,
he doesn't owe the swimming or tennis team.
He doesn't owe them anything, but for him to lament why they're going, well, he's also part of that problem.
Exactly.
Like, he's part of it. He's not going to give back.
He's not the system.
When his contract went above $10 million, I don't think he's sitting there going, I don't know if we should do this because this is $2 million that could go to golf.
Yeah, he's not worried about, he's worried about it in theory, but not to where he's going to make some dumb move, which would be dumb. Yeah. To be like, look, I can live fine on $4 million. You take this other $8 million back and give it around the athletic department. That would be dumb. I'm not advocating for him to do that, but also his money factors into the entire budget as well. His coaching staff and all those things that they do. His recruiting budget, which is higher than everybody else by 1.5. That all factors into it. And so, yeah, he can say all of this. He can worry that his players are getting poached, but can he honestly look at me in the eye and look at us in the eye and say that he and his coaching staff haven't poached somebody as well?
Oh, I'm sure he could do that and convince you, even though you know he's lying.
Would he be telling the truth? No, absolutely not.
What would he say if Georgia decided that the $20.5 million that they're going to have for revenue sharing, that the football only gets $8 to $10 million of it, when all the other football programs are getting 17 to 18 million?
Well, he would lose his mind, and he'd also be valid because they actually make money.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole thing. We're sitting here, bemoaning, and I get the Olympic and all that. I'm not trying to dismiss that, but you also want to be realistic. Those sports lose money. So he'd be in his right to lose his mind over it, considering that he basically funds those sports. His team funds a lot of those sports. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's not going to take – it would be suicidal to take that money away from them to go put it on the sports that are just going to lose that money, whereas you pump the $8 million into him, he can turn that into 20. And then the 20 goes and feeds everybody else's, mouths. Whereas if you take that away from him, then he's not bringing in 20, he's bringing in 8. And all y'all now have to live off 8. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. He's the most important figure, and, yeah, he'd be right to bark back at that. But, yeah, it's kind of talking out of both sides, and again, there's no perfect, there's no, even with if the government were to come in and intervene, there's no all of a sudden that's going to make softball profitable. No, and they're going to make a ton of money. And
short of all that, to your point, Smokey, that the system and the universities and all that, that's the bigger problem. There is an idea among state-run institutions in particular that the college system was set up to profit anybody. It's not, right? It was not like when the state college system in America was set up, no one thought of it hey, we're going to make a crap load of money. This is going to be a good thing. And then, people started trying to figure how can we make money? Now, look, I don't say go to colleges and set all your money on fire, but also you've been a losing this has not been a profitable operation since its inception. It was never intended to be.
Dude, the curtain just got pulled back and all the ugliness got showed, and now everybody's realizing how much it was propped up on toothpicks. We all knew that.
You guys were never, it was never supposed to be, it was never supposed to be like Ford Motor Company. People come, they pay their tuition, you pay the teachers, you pay the people who run the university, you call it a day. There's no CEO of the university. The board of regents at any university isn't like the board of directors at Tesla, where if the stock goes down, they lose money. They're not they're not on the hook for any of this stuff.
They lose bonus money.
They're not, but they're not nobody, okay, so for the board of the nobody's getting a bonus on the board of regents at A&M if they won a national title in football. They just get to slap each other in the back and go, "We did it, Haas." That's all. So the fact that they're trying to run this like a business when it's the educational side and all the sports that don't make money, when they're not a business, is the problem in the first place.
Let me read this from the serial killer. Totally disagree. $250,000 is not life-altering money. Education is what will elevate poor kids to get a lifetime job that pays well. Kid will blow that $250 pretty quickly.
Okay.
I mean, you say that like every single kid's going to spend it their same way. What if somebody's actually really smart with their money and invested? I understand the point you're making, but I don't think you can just do the wide brush like that.
Also, serial killer, maybe you want to look at the debt-to-income ratio of people who've taken out college loans and how hard it's been in post-1998 America to really get a job that's commensurate with the money you spent on education, and how people who are like doctors and lawyers and have really good jobs that 20 years into their career are still paying off the loans because of the scam system that we set up. But I get it. In the 1960s, when it was planned out this way, that's how it was supposed to work. But it's 2025, and shit's changed.
All right. Thank you very much for the feedback in the chat room. We got a break. Sam Kahn, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Craig. Thank you to our audience.
And I'm not having this conversation again for a while because,
we're doing it on Monday at the House Settlement.
I want to have fun this offseason and not dwell in the bog of the negative, aspects of it. It's obviously you got coaches that are speaking out, and so that's why it's worthwhile to talk about. But yeah, I don't think it's good for anybody to just, dwell in that swamp.
I agree, because we could just get miserable doing it. But Monday, the House Settlement, whatever comes out of that, we'll have obviously some discussion, and I hope to God then it's over. It probably never will be.
No, there's going to be more
then we'll
lawsuits.
discuss the college football playoff expansion, and then still how do you fix the transfer portal if it needs to be fixed, and everything else. When we come back, Sam Kahn, theathletic.com. We appreciate your time. We've just started. This is 365 Sports.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live. Forever, everything I like. I'll never get used to this.
It's the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive home the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo for just $36,995. Plus, Ford owners get an extra $2,000 Conquest bonus cash. Don't wait. These deals won't last long.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, who last week announced that he has a new role with The Athletic. He, of course, covers college football, does a great job with that, writes columns and more. And he joins us on 365 Sports. And Sam, thank you very much. Congratulations on your new role. How much of it changes now with what you were doing in the first place?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It'll change a decent bit because for the last 13, 14 years that I've covered college sports, it's been very similar in that you go through spring football, you go through your recruiting, you go through the preseason, the media days, and then into the season, and you do that whole routine every year. I think that'll change for me now in that I haven't traveled as much during the spring, and we're going to be spending the next week and a half preparing for the opening of the spring portal window here on April 16th, and then that'll make late April, early May, which is usually a quiet time. That's going to make it a very busy time for me as we track where guys are going, who's getting in the portal, and then where they end up committing to. And then now this off season, instead of necessarily being involved in realignment, which knock on wood, hopefully we're not having major issues there. We're going to be tracking the fallout of what happens on Monday with the House settlement and how our programs instituting revenue sharing, how do NIL collectives, what's their role in this moving forward, things like that. And then when we get closer to the season, we'll have to talk. I don't know. Am I going to media days? I don't know. Does that still make sense in this day and age? I'll probably still go to coaching school in San Antonio. I try to never miss that. And then there's a personnel and recruiting symposium in Nashville in August every year. So I will go to that in August, which is usually would be a time I would be going to somebody's training camp practice. So instead of going to that, I'll be going to the symposium and then, preparing. And then we'll do a preseason portal top 100 for the season to look at, who are the top transfers and who we think they're going to have the biggest impact. And then when we get to the season, I think I'll probably do some traditional game coverage, but then when we get toward the end, when we get to November, probably going to back off of game coverage a little bit because we got to prepare for the opening of the winter window, which of course is in early December, and that's the busiest time of the year. So I'll probably spend a few weeks off the road making phone calls and tracking and trying to be ahead of what all the player movement's going to look like at that time.
You know, Sam, we just played the Chris Kleiman clip from yesterday about how none of the coaches are in the room when they make kind of the arbitrary decisions about scholarship numbers and roster limits and all that. They should put coaches and guys like you whose whole schedule revolves around these things in the room, because, you know, the talk of college football right now is how difficult the schedule is to navigate.
Yeah, no doubt. It is very challenging. And again, I think as long as this is still college football and there's still players going to class and there's an academic component involved and thus an academic calendar to operate around, there's never going to be a perfect schedule. It would be very easy for us to say, hey, let's go to the NFL schedule. Well, the NFL schedule doesn't have to worry about the semester ending in December and the natural break there. So that's why I think Kleiman's right. You do need some more people involved, but you do run the risk of what happens at every level when it comes to the NCAA, when any kind of rule change is made or any kind of administrative changes, that what applies well for one set of schools may not necessarily apply well for the other. So what makes sense for the Power 4 schools or the Big Ten schools, SEC schools, may not make sense for Conference USA schools. It may not make sense for the MAC schools. It may not make sense for FCS schools or Division II. And that's where the challenge comes for the NCAA when they're setting up these types of situations, these types of rules and guidelines and calendars and schedules, is trying to apply it across the board to an entire sport. And I think that's where, as we get further and further along over the years, the power conference schools, the ones that are playing this game, where we're compensating players in a real way and we're having full revenue sharing maxed out, they're going to be playing a different game than the others. And that's why I do wonder at some point, not necessarily because the schools want to break away, but I wonder if it's just going to be practical at some point, because the problems that are the issues that they deal with are going to be very different than what the other schools do.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sam. And yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about what we were talking about a few minutes ago, just kind of ranting about it. And I'm sitting here, admittedly, looking at it from the position of a school in the Big Ten or the Big 12 or the ACC. And yeah, employee status sounds great, and they could probably swing it, but can Charlotte or can, you know, Texas State or whatever? And that does make it just a complex conversation that is not just, hey, you can wave the magic wand. So it does feel like a split of some sort just has to happen for everybody's sake, to just have the conversations progress, because if you try to please everybody, like you said, then it's just impossible to do, basically.
Right, because let's take revenue sharing for an example. If the settlement gets passed on Monday and we move into the summer and everybody's revenue sharing, most of the power conference schools are probably going to max out, if not all of them. They're going to max out at that 20.5. And then you're going to even have some power schools that are probably go over that using NIL to go over that for their football and men's basketball. When you get to the group of five, for instance, the American, I was talking to some coaches in the American a few weeks back. They're probably going to be a lot less in terms of how much they're spending. They're not going to be meeting that because that's just not financially feasible for them. So you're going to have a power conference football roster. Let's say an SEC school or a Big Ten school is going to use, of that $20.5 million, they're going to probably spend somewhere between 13 and 17 million, depending on how much they divvy up to their other sports, is going to be spent just on the football roster. In the American, you're looking at 3 to 5. So that is a massive difference. You're talking about a $10 million roster difference. So at that, when you take that, just that single number into consideration, those they're playing different sports. So, and not to say that we don't do that now, but at least there are scholarship limits and there are practice time rules and all that stuff is consistent. The 20.5 cap's going to be consistent, but not everybody's going to be able to reach that. And that's where, and then when you get down further, obviously further down the food chain, it's going to be less and less. So that's what makes it so challenging. And it's just where we are in the landscape. I don't think there's a silver bullet or a magic answer to it.
Sam, we had, and I don't remember exactly, Mike Buddy from TCU on the show a couple of weeks ago. He brought this up. What if nothing happens on Monday? What if that doesn't pass? What in the world? One, I I think we'll boycott for a little bit because we're tired of talking about it. So at least if something is ruled, then perhaps we can now move forward. But what if it doesn't pass?
Yeah, it's going to be chaotic because essentially we're going to be in the status quo right now.
Yeah.
We'll continue with where we are now, which is not ideal, but at least we have, I don't think that's ideal. I don't think that's a healthy way to move forward. I think it's beneficial for everyone if it gets passed and if we have some sense of stability. Now, here's what I will say. If it gets passed, that still doesn't preclude any other lawsuits from coming. Now, it's going to preclude some of the lawsuits because the part of the settlement is going to be closing up some of the litigation that's involved in that, but that's not going to preclude news lawsuits from coming because there's going to be different ways to attack this. For instance, I was talking with somebody at an NIL collective yesterday, who's in a Power 4 NIL collective. So if we go to this in revenue sharing and we're sharing 20.5 million, that's the cap. And then NIL is going to have this quote unquote clearinghouse that is going to be, whether it's NCAA or whether it's overseen by the conferences, what have you. And the clearinghouse is supposed to determine fair market value. The first time they turn down a contract for fair market value, they're going to get sued because who's to say fair market value? What fair market value to an NIL collective is going to be what we are willing to pay. So how do you establish those guidelines? There's also going to be, I think, some bucking back at the confidentiality. It's like, hey, why do we have to disclose this contract between this private NIL collective and this private individual? Why do we have to disclose that to a clearinghouse? Like, why is that not private? I think you're going to, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see some people try to litigate on that front as well. So all that to say that, like I just said, it's not, the settlement won't be a silver bullet. I think it will help in a lot of ways, but it's not going to preclude other things from popping up.
Sam, what do you expect the spring portal to be more of? Guys who are not going to make the 105, which I know will be a lot, but will there be guys of value, or will this be more people who are just kind of random out there?
I think it'll be a mix. It won't be, I don't believe, as splashy or as many headline-grabbing names as you get in the winter window naturally. Because a lot of these teams are set. A lot of these guys who transfer in the winter already signed contracts, and so they're pretty much locked in for the year. But I think you're going to have a lot of the guys you talked about, the guys who don't make the 105. You can have a lot of those. You're going to have obviously some guys who end up not making the depth chart or what have you, or just feel like, hey, I'm going to make the 105, but I don't like my situation. But you're also going to have what you've seen a few of these guys pop up recently. For instance, I saw North Alabama's had a few guys leave. That is Power 4 programs or even maybe higher end G5 programs identifying guys at lower levels saying, hey, we're going through spring practice. We may need a guy at this position, or we really like this guy at this FCS school or this G5 school. And there'll be some poaching. If you're a blue blood and you have a depth question somewhere, you may go find somebody who you think may fit that bill at a smaller school, a MAC school or a Conference USA school or an FCS school. And so I think you'll see some of that as well. There usually is, I know Jeff Traylor, you guys have had him on multiple times from UTSA. He's talked about having to fight to keep his guys after spring practice. That's absolutely real. So there will be some of that. So some of I don't think it'll be a lot of splashy headline names, but you'll have some guys who are under the radar who maybe we don't know as casual fans that will end up being some impact players down the road, guys that will make those moves. I think of a lot of different Trey Moore was one of them, I think, last year. I don't remember if he was winter or spring, but Trey was one of those who was not nationally known. Or I think of the guy from James Madison that Texas recruited a few years back, the linebacker Diamante Tucker Dorsey. That was a guy who was, I think, a spring ad for them. They also went and got some defensive tackles, like Stark went through spring practice and realized, hey, we don't have enough defensive tackles. So they went and got a few in the portal. Those are the kinds of moves that I think you're going to see mostly populating the portal in this spring window.
Sam, I think the announcement about Deion Sanders and his contract extension was the day after we talked to you, I think. So apologies if you already answered this, but your thoughts. This time last year, people were preparing for the fact that he was getting ready for his last season because his boys were going to graduate and Travis Hunter was going to leave, and then he'd probably go to the NFL or do whatever. But Deion signed a new extension with Colorado. Is going to be making great money, and just your thoughts on his impact so far through these first couple years in Boulder. Obviously longer counting Jackson State, but his impact on college football, his impact on Boulder, and what you think the commitment by Colorado means big picture.
Yeah, it's huge. I would have lost a lot of money if you'd asked me to wager when he got the job if he'd be there in 2025, because I would have bet heavily against it, especially after seeing the way the roster was flipped. And it was very clear that they were trying to go all in for that year two after they flipped the roster for a couple of years and try to go win the Big 12 title last year. And once it didn't happen, but they had a really good season, I still thought once his boys move on, once Travis Hunter moves on, he probably moves on as well. It's a big win for Colorado. There's no doubt about it. When you think of where that program was and how bad a shape it was in its Pac-12 existence, and now they are the talk of college football. They may not be the first topic as they were right when Deion got there, but they are a program that people tune in to watch, and that you couldn't say that about Colorado 5 years ago. That's a big win for them. And so to be able to keep him and continue to leverage his name, his brand, the appeal, whether you like him or whether you don't, people pay attention to him. And that's good for recruiting. That's good for the school. That's good for the football program. And honestly, after seeing what he did last year and how they built that team, even though they went so heavy portal, I'm pretty encouraged. I thought they made some good coaching changes. I like some of the things they did on the staff. I like some of the guys they got out of the portal. It seems like they settled in and they've got a pretty good process. They have a good process for identifying guys and acquiring guys. And they even got another blue chip recruit this time around with Juju Lewis. That's going to make it fascinating. But I really like it. I think I'm happy for them. I think Deion's really good for college football, and that he gets people talking. And he's very honest. He's very upfront. He broadcasts everything clearly. And I think it makes people have some conversations about, how we do things, and having that different blood, that new blood, throwing out different ideas. Like the idea that he had, and him and Fran Brown trying to do the spring practice, joint practices. I love that. I thought that was a great idea. And we need more people thinking outside the box like that to solve problems in college football. And I thought that was a great solution to what, I don't know if you want to call spring practice a problem, but a trend that we're seeing go in a different direction. I thought Deion and Fran Brown, that was a great idea. I think it's unfortunate that the waiver didn't go through, but I do think it starts a conversation. I think we will see some change going on, because rather than talking about it, Deion said, hey, let's do something about it. And I think that'll spark some real movement down the road.
You wonder if they would have brought this up 6 weeks ago. The NCAA was able to use one of the cop-outs was, well, some people are already deep into their spring, and so they really can't react to this. If they didn't have that to lean on, then what would have been their reason to say no to it? And by the way, just the fact that it's a fresh idea, new vision, this sport needs that right now.
Yeah, that's why we're in the place we're in with college sports and college football, is because for so long there was a lack of, like you said, fresh ideas and fresh vision, and we clung to a very static, staid, outdated way of doing things once we got past the point of this being a academic thing. Because it used to be in the 80s or 70s, it used to be guys would get jobs in the off season and they wouldn't be training year round. And then obviously TV wasn't a big factor. Once TV became a big factor, it turned into a business. That's just the reality. And we've seen the revenues match that. But to your point, I think anytime we have guys throwing out ideas that are outside the status quo, it doesn't mean we have to adopt all of them, but it sparks conversation and it gets people talking, and it helps us get to a better place.
Sam Kahn, The Athletic, with Athletic.com, with us on 365 Sports.
Sam, will you be traveling to any spring scrimmages?
No, not this year. Especially, too, part of it is, well, for instance, like Texas doesn't even have it. A&M is having one, but I know some of the other schools in state are having one. But no, it's not, that's going to fall on the time for me being on the phone and trying to track every portal move, and trying to contextualize everything that's going on in the portal. So Sam, yeah, that's going to be a departure for me. Yeah.
That's like an hour a day.
No, for me, no. Are you kidding me?
No,
okay, let me tell you this. I will tell you this: in December, when I did a little bit of a trial run, like before I pitched this job to move into this job, I gave it a try in December, kind of at an interim basis to see like, okay, could we make this work? And you guys remember what National Signing Day was like back when it was a big deal. And for any of you guys, I don't know if any of you guys have done the newspaper thing, but at a newspaper, it's an insane day because, especially at a place when I worked at Houston Chronicle, you had to try to get thousands of names in the paper because we had so many of the kids signed, and you're trying to get every college recruiting class in the state, and we're trying to get all our high school athletes' names in the paper. And we're trying to track all the news. And, of course, in Houston, we had a lot of big-time recruits. So that day for me, National Signing Day, back in its heyday when I worked at the newspaper, would start when signing day started like 7 a.m. And I would not be out of the building until like 2 a.m. until we closed the last edition of the paper. And that was just what it was. And it was constant, on the phone or tracking or all that stuff. So the first week of the winter portal window in December, it felt like 5 signing days in a row.
Oh my God!
Because that's how much I was on the phone for that entire week of that first week of the winter window. And then once we got to the second week, it tailed off a little bit, but it was still busy. And then once we got to the final 5-7 days of the winter window, it kind of slowed down, especially as we got closer to Christmas. This spring window won't be quite that technical, but it is still a lot of me, on the phone, texting, calling, tracking, the whole nine, writing headlines, or developing stories for whatever the different angles we want to take in it. So it's a different challenge. It's an exciting one. It's one that I pitched, that I brought up, and that they went for, and I'm very fortunate. I look forward to it. And it's just a different way that this helps keep me connected to every part of the sport, because everybody in the sport is affected by roster management, by the portal, by revenue sharing, by NIL, by the whole nine. And I've just kind of had a natural interest in it the last few years. And once my good friend Max Olson went over back to ESPN, it opened up an opportunity there. And so I was fortunate that they let me do it.
Well, we're happy for you. And I remember when you were at the Chronicle and much more. Sam, did you hear us, or did you hear the comments from Chris Kleiman and Kirby Smart that we played earlier in the show?
I heard Kleiman's comment earlier today. I don't know what Kirby said.
Yeah, well, I mean, his was different. Kleiman was basically, and we had a really good discussion about this, is that those who are the ones who were affected the most by these new rules of the 105 and all of that are the ones that don't even get an opportunity to be in the room when these decisions are being made, even if they're talking to the ADs. The ADs is the president. They got other things in their minds too. But and he did not know, for example, the 105, some players are going to have to leave. There's no room for them. They're going to have to leave. And number two, is there an injured reserve list? Does anyone know that? Is there a practice squad? Does anyone know that? And he's the coach that has to deal with roster management and doesn't know.
Yeah. That illustrates and underlines how disjointed this whole process has been to get here. And when we've talked in the last couple of years, as we went through the craziness of the unveiling of NIL without any real restrictions or real guidelines, and now we've moved toward the House settlement, that's where we are. We are in April. So we're, 5 months, 6 months from the season, and we have coaches asking questions that we don't have answers to. And that's really difficult. It's really difficult to manage your roster. And I hate to keep going back to the NFL because this is not NFL football, but that's one reason why the NFL works. Everything is on its strict calendar. We know free agency happens here. The draft happens here. Mini camps happen here. Training camp happens here. Coaching changes can happen here. Like it's all very organized, and we are in college football. We are not. And so that is unfortunate. And you're right. The one thing that I found really fascinating in the last 10, 15 years covering this sport is that so many rules are voted on at a presidential level. And athletics is only a small part of what a college president has to deal with. So that is what is interesting to me, because that when we talk about the settlement is something that big, that's something college presidents are involved in. And it to me, I think Kleiman's right. The more you have coaches and athletic directors and people, or even players, people who are in the process every day that have that expertise, with their input, the more likely you're able to get to an outcome that is more reasonable. But that said, they had to end up on some roster limit. Why they ended up at 105, I don't know. Most of the schools that I've talked to, even in the power conferences, most of them are going to still stick to 85 scholarships and go 20 walk.
Yeah,
we'll see if there's anybody that goes over that. But most of the sentiment that I've heard is that that's it's going to be, because coaches still like the walk-on culture. They still like having those types of guys in the building. And so I think you're going to see coaches intentionally continue to do it. But, yeah, it is unfortunate for the other 15 to 20 guys that would be on your 120 to 125 that you would have. It's really unfortunate, and they're going to have to find an opportunity, and a lot of them won't be able to get one.
Sam, who are you going to win? Who's going to win the championship in basketball on Monday night in San Antonio?
No idea, but I hope it's Houston.
Yeah,
I'm a Houston grad, so
absolutely.
I sure hope so. It's been a lot of fun to watch them. I'm still a little bit floored that this program is at this point, because I covered that program. My very first college beat was covering, when I was at the Houston Chronicle, was covering U of H in 2011, and it was, I believe, James Dickey's first year there as coach, and I covered his first 2 years of the program. And brother, let me tell you, there was nobody in those buildings. The Hawkeyes Pavilion was a ghost. And so to see that program went from that to now a Final Four twice in a 4-year span, and on the cusp of potentially winning a national championship, it's amazing. And it's a testament to what the administration has done. It's certainly a testament to what Kelvin Sampson has done. So I hope they're able to finish the job. I would be really happy to see them if they're able to do it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it. Good luck to your Cougars this weekend. Also, congratulations on the new opportunity with theathletic.com. So a lot of writers were saying that they've re-upped with the company, and good for them. We had Bruce Feldman, of course, on yesterday with 365 Sports. All right, a couple of more things to get to. We'll get to some headlines that we didn't get to because of the discussion with the Chris Kleiman and Kirby Smart audio and a couple of things. But we have some college basketball transfer portal news. West Virginia's head coach is introduced. Sacramento State, how about what they're trying to do by transitioning to another level? And they've just basically started. That and more. This is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco. The Bauer family. You like crawfish, live crawfish? You like crawfish boils? It's too late to add that to your menu this weekend, at least from what they have. But write this down, jot this down, remember this. If you order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish there by around noon on Thursday, you could have, whether it's one bag of 30-pound bag or 2 or 3 or how large the crawfish boil is, have that by Friday afternoon to take home and get ready whenever you have the crawfish boil. And they have what you need when it comes to the potatoes and the sausage and the seasoning and what else you want to put in it, including shrimp, if that's the case too. They have it. Waco Custom Marketplace with a full-service butcher shop and bakery, the butcher shop with seafood, beef, pork, and poultry. And you can call ahead, like I've done, usually about every 2 to 3 months. I'll call ahead and get on the phone, call them and say, hey, I'd like to come by and pick up 6 big, thick, maybe 1.25 inch, either bone-in or regular boneless ribeyes. And they have 3 different choices, of course, of what type of brand or I guess you say how good you want that meat to be. It's great. They do it. They cut it for me, and then that's what I eat when it comes to steaks. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, cold beer and wine too, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Sacramento State plans to file an application with the NCAA to transition from FCS to FBS. And they also want to do that as an independent. That then allows them, already filed a waiver, to transition as an independent in football, which does require NCAA approval. They have been very aggressive. They are very much locked into this. And so Sacramento State, a team trying to weave through that. Remember, Tarleton State and others, Sam Houston State, have had to wait quite a bit, attached to conferences or not. But Sac State, with Brendan Marion, their head coach, wanting to get that done as an independent.
I'm very curious to find out who that's a Sacramento State alum or supporter is the biggest money donor behind all this. Because, like, you don't just decide, like, this is not something you just decide to do, like being on American Idol and go wait in line and see if they like you. You know, like, you have to have a financial plan, and they clearly do. I'm just curious to find out, like, because this is a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money that they've raised.
By positioning itself for FBS conferences as an independent, the reason for a waiver is because they are not going in with a conference. The school sits in the top 20 media market and has been aggressive in hiring the coaches and with their NIL.
Yeah, that's from Pete Thamel, right?
Yeah.
So Pete Thamel pointed all that out. And, the reason why you have the waiver is because you don't have a conference invite, as you said. So that little detail just helps explain it a little bit further. But he also said that they, what did I see? That they were going to play with the Big Sky in 2025.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what he has. School's planning to play football in the Big Sky for 2025, which is expected to be its last season there. Then they'd be ineligible for 25-26. And so anyways, it gets in all the point of the story is there's been a lot of talk out west about Sacramento State and all their efforts to get up a level and get into the FBS and get into, dream scenario, the Pac-12. I mean, obviously it makes all of the sense in the world geography-wise and, just what conference would make more sense for them than being positioned where they are out west and then the Pac-12? So for a variety of reasons, that seems like the end goal. And I've seen, various scuttlebutt about this over the last, 2 or 3 months especially. They're going all in. I mean, the Brennan Marion hire was definitely one of those like, whoa, what is that? I thought that was a big-time hire, and that alone shows you their investment. But, they've been hard at work at trying to raise their profile, raise their school and program up to be, in the conversation for an FBS move sooner rather than later. So, that's been in the works, and they're going through with it. And I don't know what the other side of this all looks like when the dust settles, but I am kind of sitting back just, respectfully just going like, wow, damn, like they're really like when a lot of schools are sitting there complaining about money or complaining about, the way everything sucks. Like Sacramento State is one of those schools going, we're going all in, buddy. We see the door cracked open, and we see a golden opportunity here. Let's go slide through that thing, and they certainly are. That's cool for Sacramento State.
I'm going to list some famous alums in order of least famous to most famous at Sacramento State, and it's going to knock your socks off. I promise you that. Okay, Creed Bratton from The Office, who played Creed. Okay, least famous. I mean, there's a lot I could do. Let's see. Rick Rossovich. Smokey, I know that you don't know that name, but you do know him.
I know Rossovich. He used to be a quarterback at Washington State.
No, Rick Rossovich was Slider in Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
I thought Rick Rossovich was Every Day I'm Hustling.
I think I may be talking about Tim Rossovich.
Yeah. So let me throw another one out there. Joan London.
Really?
Joan London.
And always such a just a calm, sweet face on TV.
Yes. Lester Holt, who's about to retire.
CBS News?
For NBC. From NBC.
Okay.
Ryan Coogler, who is the director of Creed and Black Panther and a bunch of movies. He's really, really good. There's actually several of those people. But the coup de grace of Sacramento State.
Denzel Washington.
Nope. The only actor who I think can go toe-to-toe with him, Tom Hanks.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, he's an Oakland guy, so that's not. I didn't know that he went to Sacramento State, but I knew he was an Oakland guy, so that makes sense.
There's others like.
He's easily the most famous.
Yeah, Bridget Marquardt, who had to get on top of Hugh Hefner for a couple years.
She like Girls Next Door or something?
Yeah.
That's one of their most famous alumni?
Based on Hugh Hefner was a stud, man.
No.
No.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, whatever you guys know about him now, but back in the day, he was a star.
Yeah, absolutely. He was famous, but he's a creep. Here's one. Smokey, are you familiar with award-winning musician Bobby McFerrin?
I've heard that name.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
A song he had to sing so much he
was
won't
that one of
sing
those
it anymore.
one-offs like Dobie Gray, Drift Away, or whatever?
Yeah. So not bad. One of my favorite comedians, Brian Posehn, went there. He's a great comedian. So, there's a lot of people.
We have reached out to Sacramento State for both Brennan Marion, their football coach, but also for their AD, and hopefully be able to have somebody come on and discuss what they're doing and what their plans are. So there we are with Sacramento State. I'm rooting for them.
I mean, we'll see what happens long term. Pac-12 would obviously be, I guess, the dream scenario, I would think. I know there's a lot of scuttlebutt as well about the Mountain West. And so I don't know. I haven't paid, honestly, close enough attention to the big picture and how detailed that big picture even is outside of the fact that they're just clearly trying to make a move and get into the game, so to speak. So, they've definitely been a team that we've talked about more in the last 6 months, or a program we've talked about more in the last 6 months than I feel like I've talked about in my entire life prior to that. So I don't know if that results in me talking about them much more in the future. Once everything settles, they'll have to eventually their play do the talking to get more attention. But, I think it's a very interesting storyline that's been kind of cool to just follow their pursuit of greater things for their football program in particular.
All right, 365 Sports with a couple of other college football notes. Avery Johnson, Kansas State quarterback, opened up, it has a strawberry lemonade at Manhattan Hy-Vee a week ago, launched it. The top-selling item in that store with the exception of bananas. You walk into pretty much any kind of a convenience store like that, and people want bananas. And you can get yours today, Manhattan Hy-Vee, if you live. I know some of you K-State fans that are in the chat. Not sure if any of you live that close, but available soon as well online. See, this is me. The NIL that like makes sense based on somebody's name or their reputation or whatever, and this is one here with Avery Johnson. These are the NIL stories I like to talk about.
Can you imagine if they just let you do this all the time? Like where we would be if you were, say, Troy Aikman when he was at UCLA, if they wanted to do Troy Aikman, sports drink, if they just let him do it.
He's got a beer now.
Yeah. I mean, like, if they just
yeah.
let him do it. Like, again, it's not hurting anybody. I mean, it's like the way that, like, I think that's the thing about this particular stuff of, hey, this brand wants to put your picture on a lemonade, and the NCAA acted like, oh, well, that's akin to murder. No, I mean, not hurting anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they felt like it was going to bring down the entire sport if Avery Johnson was on a lemonade promotion. So, yeah. And now these same people like, my money. So why are we supposed to, that goes back to the start of the show, and I don't want to go all the way back there. So I think this is just cool. Like, there's not really got to be a big picture statement opinion about this. It's cool. That's what NIL, not the NIL. You always say the NIL. Like, I know I can start a certain sentences, but just NIL. It's just funny the way you say that. But this is what it was intended to be. This is some of the cool stuff that comes from it, between all of the bitching and moaning about the negative effects of it. This is the stuff that's awesome, that should have been happening all along, that, name a player back in the day should have been able to do when they were at their respective colleges.
Yeah, it was absolutely you're kidding me.
Well, and I also want to, go back to the comment earlier, and I get that, like, it's a more detailed conversation. It's not just like, everything's just clear on the surface, but like the remark about the $250,000 and not making much of a difference for a college athlete, I still disagree on the main surface, but the point was of like long-term and all that. It's like, yeah, we also heard that about stuff like this. Like, this would have been detrimental to the, like, we can't have NIL. What harm is this causing? So I think there's a lot of things that were just archaic ideas that are now no longer that. And so with the good or with the bad, there's been some good, and this is definitely part of the good, is having just logical, advertising and money-making opportunities for big-time star college athletes, because they're stars. A lot of them are stars, and Avery Johnson is certainly a star. So, yeah, this is cool to see this. This is what should have been going on all along, and I'm glad that the last few years that there's been opportunities like this.
Where players had their names or numbers on a jersey that sold like hotcakes. Like, for example, Johnny Manziel, go back many years, and they got nothing out of it.
Yeah, and I just hope we get to a point where we're not, like, stopping down every time we see it as like, oh, look, they're doing the NIL thing. And it's like, I mean,
just said the NIL.
I know,
because
it was
thing. NIL was an adjective in that.
Yes.
The thing is the verb.
Stop doing English and grammar with me.
But it's like, it should just be like, yeah, that's awesome, kick ass, and then, move along instead of a statement on the entire state of the industry every time, something pops up.
I thought this was interesting. We don't do there's some football players that commit, and we try to get them on the show. Most of that is also attached to when I get to the high school podcast in the fall. What?
I did have a question. Bananas are just really popular at Manhattan convenience stores. Is that what I read?
Think, no, it's actually more like an HEB is what somebody said. I know this. There's a corner store on Lakeshore Drive at the bottom of the hill, and if I forget or don't have bananas on my way to work out, I go by there to get a banana.
Okay, yeah.
And there's usually a whole bunch of them.
I couldn't not go back to that comment. It's like, this is the best selling except for the bananas. And it's like, wow, the bananas are really popular, because I would think the Avery Johnson drink would be the number one by a long shot.
You think about a convenience store, what they have now. I mean, Buc-ee's doesn't count because that's just insane. So this is a story of a young man. I brought this up not because he committed to a college. He's from Texas. He's from Georgetown High School, which is just north of Austin. He used to play at Lampasas, which is near where Fort Hood is located, or Fort Cavazos. Chet Walker. I remember having a conversation about him many times. He committed to West Virginia. This young man has 4,300 yards rushing, had 2,400 last year, and 37 touchdowns as a junior. This is a nice commit. This is Rich Rodriguez in West Virginia coming into the state of Texas and plucking away. I don't know if he's a 2 or 4 or 9 star. Doesn't matter. He's a hell of a player, and I thought that was pretty cool. West Virginia, right into the middle of Texas, found themselves a very, very good running back.
Yeah, he's actually a no-star. He's not rated on.
I bet he will be
on 247, but he's got good size, 6'2", 215, and has an offer from Houston, which I'll always respect. Willie Fritz and his staff's ability to scout guys, and he's got some other offers as well. But it seems like West Virginia and Houston would certainly, scrolling through here, be the biggest ones. UTSA, I always respect their offers. Texas State, I think you take a look at who they offer more now than ever. So, yeah, a lot of those AAC schools, I think he's got offers from majority of those types of schools. But, yeah, I mean, that's great for Jet Walker, great for West Virginia, and yeah, I don't know much about him, but I'll take your word on his talents. And,
no, he's
cool name, Jet with 2 T's. But also just interesting to see West Virginia dabble in Texas a little bit, because that I don't feel has happened all that often in recent years, at least. I don't feel like we're talking about them in Texas prospects very frequently.
No, and look, if I'm going to go play for a coach who can use multiple running backs well.
Yes.
Rich Rodriguez.
Right, yeah.
I mean, say what you will about the whole of his career. But one of the things that's a through line, no matter if it was a good stop or a bad stop, spreading the ball around to running backs in his offense has always been a plus. Even Arizona did really well doing that there. Even though that was not a successful tenure. Jack State, he did obviously well enough. Michigan, he actually did that well there. The problem with Michigan was they didn't really like him once they figured out, we don't like people who didn't go to Michigan to have this job, I guess.
Yeah.
And he didn't. It was more problems than just him, I think.
He wasn't a Michigan man, Paul.
Yeah, it wasn't a Michigan man. How dare you walk onto this campus and not have given us tuition money?
How about
but,
listen, I think he's gonna give them a boost, a shot.
I think it's amazing when you're happy.
Yeah.
When you're happy and you're excited to be in a place, as opposed to Arizona. I don't think if you ever asked him, do you want to be the head coach at Arizona? In his wildest dreams, he would never said oh, that's a great place I want to be. He kind of had to go there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That was the best job available to him. I'm not knocking Arizona, but at the time, he had been fired from Michigan. What are you going to do? And West Virginia was a place he really wanted to be, and then left because Michigan was so much money. But once you walk in the door, sometimes at those opportunities, you're oh, this place kind of sucks. I can't be me here.
The old Barn Cat. Hy-Vee is a regular-sized grocery store chain similar to that of H-E-B, which you have in Texas, and I don't know where else. Competes with Dillon's, which is a chain that started in South Central Kansas, part of Kroger. Hy-Vee started in Iowa, I believe.
Okay, yeah, good to know. Yeah, things like that, those differences in chains and stores, certainly good to have some blanks filled in, not being from certain parts of the country. So appreciate that. Yeah, because the way I saw it, I saw a Slurpee-looking drink. I'm oh, that's like a convenience store.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bananas thing, that makes even more sense with the regular traditional grocery store.
Ever had Bananas Foster?
Oh, yeah. I've been to a Hy-Vee when I've been in Kansas City.
We were always downtown.
No, I was.
Oh, okay.
I was there without you several times.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We learn now.
Well, you send me there without you several times.
From Georgetown, Texas to Georgetown, the university, the basketball program, of course, is the great tradition with John Thompson and much more. Langston Love, former Baylor guard. You knew he's going somewhere. I didn't know where he would end up. That's a trip to Washington, D.C. for Langston Love. And he leaves Baylor to play with the Hoyas.
Is that Ed Cooley that's there now?
Yep.
Yeah, Ed Cooley, good coach. I think he's going to be a valued addition there. He and Baylor took each other as far as they could, I think, and it just because he's not healthy. I hope he's healthy. I hope he can figure it out. I think he's going to be valuable for them. He plays really hard, and it's a nice add for them.
Can he
stay healthy?
Stay healthy.
Is he available? If he's available, then he's going to help.
Yep.
Yeah, good for him. With a lot of these, obviously, I'm not as big of a college basketball guy as y'all are, but so with a lot of these transfers, it's kind of morphed into football, especially after the Jeremy Roach last year, where it's big splash, oh my God, and then you actually get to the actual season, you're oh wow, that was a bit not a great call necessarily. So I'm wary, basically point being, on anybody who's not a top 10 player that's returning, and so I'm sure somewhere in Georgetown's fandom, there's people going, oh, man, Langston Love, and not really knowing his history. So it's like
it's more about who they're getting as far as numbers than who maybe the particular players, but they do seem pumped up.
Yeah, they seem pumped up about, so that's great. Like I'm just more wary these days. I'm just jaded about celebrating every transfer pickup like it's the greatest thing ever. But I'm also not probably looking at it the way a typical fan is. So
here's what they said in one of their Georgetown tweets. The cover: Georgetown is off to the races in the portal. That's how they present
they are. I mean, that's one of their first pickups. So that's great. But yeah, he's a really talented player. It's just a matter of if he's the talented, healthy player, or if he's the guy who, for 2 or 3 seasons, we were talking about here, is he healthy? Is he not healthy? Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? It was Cam Rising in basketball practically each game. So, good luck to him. Georgetown's a great program, and he's a talented guy. I hope that health follows along with him, because if it does, then there's some good things in store.
Yeah, I don't know how many games he played, but there were gaps in which he was not able to play most of the time because of an ankle. Then he got back and was playing pretty well, and then he had an ankle issue. Keyshawn Hall, this is a Big 12 player from UCF, headed to Auburn. How about Auburn? While they're preparing for the Final Four to play Florida, Paul's beloved Gators, they actually add to the portal, go into the portal, while they're practicing to play for a semifinal and a championship berth. 18.8 points a game as a senior, 7 rebounds, 43% from the field. That's pretty impressive. 20-plus points in 16, about half the games that UCF played. He's been here's one of these, this is kind of like UNLV, George Mason, UCF, and now Auburn.
Yeah, well, he's been good at all those places, and Auburn's only going to have him for a year.
He was an unranked high school player coming out of high school, going to UNLV. Yeah,
but good for him, and good for Auburn. Bummer for UCF that he had some eligibility. He's not coming back. So,
also Baylor. We already mentioned that they have added a couple of transfers, including the one we had on, of course, from Wyoming. They now add J.J. White. Remember we had Chris Crutchfield on, the University of Nebraska, Omaha? Their point guard, J.J. White, a young man that distributes the ball very well. They need a point guard along with Rob Wright, who will be their dude, but they need others because they did not protect the ball well outside of Rob Wright. And at times, because he's a freshman, he had some turnovers too. First team All-Summit, 14 points, 4 assists per game. He has signed with Scott Drew and Baylor.
This is
looks like a true, legitimately, this is what the position he plays.
Yeah, and they've got a veteran guard who averaged almost 14 points a game. They got a big man from Oregon State, or 6'9" guy.
Rataj.
Yeah, Rataj, and then I think they need to get one more big guy for sure.
Hey, listen, I was playing golf today, and everyone asked me about who's coming back. I went to the roster, and they had somebody enter the portal today. They got Rob Wright, and man, maybe there's 1 or 2 others. The kid Carr from Tennessee who didn't play, but it transferred mid-year. There aren't many other names on that roster to the left.
Dubravcic is coming back.
I think he might have just gone into the portal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he was coming back.
Ojawani, of course, he had the ACL. But, there's one guy that went in the portal today. I'll see who that might be.
There's 4 guys coming back, and then you've got Yesufu coming in, who – they're going to have a nice guard rotation. They need to make sure that they've got muscle, though. That was their problem this year. And not just one guy.
Other than Norshad O'Meara, who was obviously a power forward type player, or 3 or 4, what position you call him.
But, they need a couple guys who can play the 4 and 5 and rotate it out and guard against that, because when that went off, when Josh Ojawani got hurt this year, that was kind of it for their ability to sustain in play. They can only play one way. Scott Drew's most successful teams can play a bunch of different ways. Like if they've got to mash you, they can mash you. If they've got to bomb you to death, they can bomb you. They were kind of an army that had everything at its disposal. Well, this was, we've got an Air Force. We've got an Air Force, and if the Jets get going well, it'll be fine. But
that was the only way they were going to win any more than a game in the tournament, is if they just hit 40% and bombed away at 3 and hit 15 or 18 of them. And that did not happen very often. When we come back, Craig Smoak's off the radar in a couple of segments. We are going to look at Stanford, the Stanford Cardinal football schedule for 2025 as we continue, to weave through in the next segment.
Okay.
Next segment, we'll look at the Stanford Cardinal, then Off the Radar, and much more. Mickey Spagnuolo around the corner. In about an hour or so, we will have Paul Catalina and his top 5. This is 365 Sports. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco at a 48-foot walk-in humidor. I know there's some of you in the chat that smoke cigars. I know one time I got a tremendous surprise from Kim Coulter with elite cigars. I use that word. Paxton sometimes brings it up, but man, Rocky Patel, what a great dude he is, but unbelievable cigars. They have those. Also, Artur Fuente, Macanudo, Ashton, H. Upman, Padron, Cohiba, name it, they have it. One of the sleepers for me is called La Fontana. Got Churchill length, a little thinner than a large Churchill, but they also have the Torpedo of also La Fontana. It's Romeo, Julieta, and all the great brands of cigars. They have Vita Dreams at night, gummies to help you fall asleep. For bad days, gummies for when you have chronic pain. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans, just off Valley Mills, Richland Drive in Waco.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
365 Sports on this Thursday afternoon. Final Four Saturday in San Antonio. The women's Final Four in Tampa starting on Friday as they all try to crown a championship at some particular point. Good luck to Houston, the Cougars, and Duke in the second semifinal, the nightcap, the first one, the game between Florida and also Auburn. Craig's off the radar around the corner, but also time to look at a program. We're still in the ACC, headed towards the end of that standings, and also the group of teams when we go to the Stanford Cardinal. And nothing says ACC like the ACC and the Stanford Cardinal.
Yeah, so Stanford clearly with a coaching situation that arose the last few weeks, Troy Taylor out of there, and I think it didn't dawn on me until last night, but I was talking about Stanford in passing yesterday, and mention like whoever their coach can be. Their coach is Frank Reich.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
The interim, yeah.
The interim head coach, Frank Reich, former NFL quarterback. So that's who they're rolling with for the time being into year 2 in the ACC. And if he wins more than 4 games, he would do something that Troy Taylor and David Shaw haven't done in the last 4 consecutive seasons. They have been 3-9, 3-9, 3-9, 3-9 since COVID. They are a 3-9 program, more so than probably. I can't imagine anybody else out there has had the same record 4 consecutive seasons in a row, much less something just as random as 3-9. But that's what Stanford's had. Prior to that, the COVID year, they went 4-2. Prior to that, they were 4-8. They have not made a bowl game since 2018. So think about that for a second. We're in 2025. I know they get lost out there, and they weren't even like the main target of all of the realignment talk last year. They were just one of the others that just moved. But, yeah, it's been a drought for Stanford in terms of football success. Now they're in year 2 in the ACC. Last year didn't change things because, again, they were just 3-9 like they had been the 3 prior seasons. So what can Frank Reich do, and what is he facing in 2025? This is an on-paper exercise, so this isn't, full-blown predictions and all the like. This is just taking a look at who they're playing. And for Stanford, that all begins on Saturday, August the 23rd, which will lead them into an early bye week because they're starting the season early. Why are they starting the season early? Well, because they're taking that long trip out to Hawaii to take on the Warriors. Are they still the Warriors?
I think they're.
Are they the Rainbow Warriors?
No, I thought they got rid of that, but I can't even recall now.
Yeah.
I normally don't like asking random questions on the show because I get very annoyed by it. But I just that thought crossed my mind. But I don't remember anymore what their name is.
I think it still is.
Regardless, they are on the road at Hawaii on Saturday, August the 23rd, and they will get a break after that because of the trip and the travel. Still Rainbow Warriors?
Still Rainbow.
Okay. Never know the last few years how things change, but still the Rainbow Warriors, so that's cool. So Stanford will meet the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii out at their place on August the 23rd. They get the bye week right after that, and then Saturday, September the 6th, get into the real flow of the schedule here. They will play on the road on the mainland against BYU, on the road in the mainland against BYU. So Stanford, BYU there on Saturday, September the 6th, after a couple of weeks from that Hawaii game. Saturday, September the 13th, they get into some conference play already as they will square off with Boston College right there in week number 3. And then Saturday, September the 20th, it is a road trip to Virginia, not West Virginia, to Virginia on Saturday, September the 20th. And then Saturday, September the 27th, they are at home for only the second time in their first 5 games as they take on an out-of-conference opponent again. This is like the weirdest ordered schedule as they'll play San Jose State. So Hawaii non-con on the road earlier than most because of the fact that you're traveling and opening up the season that way. Back at home, or then back 2 weeks later at BYU. So you don't play your first home game until September 13th. Then you're back on the road again to Virginia, and then that's 2 conference games in a row, and then you're back into the non-conference in week 5. I know that's hard to follow, but it's a weird-ass schedule. If you are looking, are y'all seeing the same thing I'm seeing here?
Well, no, you're. I'm not saying you're jumping around, but yeah, it's kind of a little bit erratic.
It's very erratic. You've got 2 non-cons, then 2 conferences, then a non-con. You've got the bye week after the first game. You've got 3 road trips in the first 4 games. It's kind of all over the place. So Hawaii on the road, BYU on the road, BC at home, Virginia on the road, San Jose State at home, and then they get a break and then kind of reset. And I would imagine they're probably going to need it after all of that. After going to Hawaii and going to Provo and to Virginia, just all over the map. There is their first bye week after those, or their second, I should say, after those 5 games to start the season.
I could very easily, given what this team is going through right now, see them starting 0-5. I don't know enough about Hawaii and San Jose State, but I would say that what their roster is going to be like, especially given that the best players on their roster have taken this opportunity to jump in the portal.
And including today, Emmett Mosley, the fifth, a wide receiver who had 48 catches for them last year, an ACC all-freshman.
Yeah. Who I'm going to bet dollars to donuts goes to USC, where his brother is going to be next year. So,
or his mom and dad who attended Notre Dame.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Right.
So
we go back to the schedule. But
so like they have that they're going to have to deal with. And like we said before, Stanford can't just go into the portal and pick a wide receiver with relatively good grades and say, you're going to Stanford now, bud. You know, like they can't do that.
Right.
Like they have.
That's exactly right.
It's harder for them because of that. So I would think that this year, and they know this, Andrew Luck is an incredibly smart human being. He knows that whatever positives coming out this year are probably going to be dumb luck. You know, like they're gonna fall into some things. It's gonna be because they've got guys who work really hard and they figure things out, but they're not gonna be a deep team. So anywhere from 0-5 to 2-3, I can see out of that, but I don't see them beating BYU or either their two conference foes.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. So yeah, high likelihood that through 5 weeks they're probably sitting under 500. But yeah, could be worse, could be better. Maybe they're a surprise team, but they will get that bye week, the second bye week after the San Jose State non-con game at home. Then after that extra breather, which they will probably need after road trips to Hawaii and Provo and Virginia, they will then be back on the road going to Texas as they will take on SMU in Dallas on Saturday, October the 11th. The following week, on October the 18th, it is Florida State at home in Palo Alto. The following week, October the 25th, at Miami. We paying attention to the schedule, boys? Yeah. At SMU, Florida State at home, at Miami, 3 consecutive weeks. Then Saturday, November the 1st, they will welcome in Pitt. Saturday, November the 8th, they keep it going. They travel to North Carolina, and then they get another break, their final break with 2 games remaining. So that second stint, after you've gone to Hawaii and you've gone to Provo and you've gone to Virginia and you've had a couple home games, you get a breather, and then you come back and you're going to Dallas, and then you're hosting FSU, and then you're going to Miami, and then you're hosting Pitt, and then you're going to North Carolina. Like, I can't imagine there's many teams that are traveling as much as they are. It's impossible.
I think the ACC did them a favor here by allowing them to have 2 really good teams in a 3 games period of both SMU and Miami, and give them that opportunity in between.
They
to
gave
play
them the win on
Florida State.
October the 18th with Florida State. I mean, that was the
Can't you wait till? Are you excited when we one day can't say that again?
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Look, if they win,
that's a nice little run right there.
If they win 4 games this year, I'm going to say, yeah, suck it, guys. Yeah. Doubled up those wins.
Yeah.
But no, they should probably lose all 5 of those games, to be honest. Like, they should probably lose all 5 of those. I mean, it's not going to be good. And the other thing is, this is where, like, I know it's just 1 game a week, so for football it's not that big of a deal, but given that they're going Hawaii, home, and a week off, then to Utah, which is not that far, then home, then all the way to Virginia, then home, then all the way to Dallas, then home, then all the way to friggin' Miami.
Yep, that's as far away.
Then home, then home, then North Carolina, then off and home, and then they get to stay home for a little while. I would say that until November 22nd, when they get started back up again, they're really going to be tired of being on planes.
Oh, man. I mean, it's crazy. And so I think if you're pointing at the negatives of the ACC membership and things like that, I don't think that's always the case. Like, I think sometimes the travel can get blown out of proportion. I don't think so with this schedule. A part of it's the non-con as well. Like, you chose to play Hawaii and take that trip. You chose to, make the trips that you are. But
they don't have back-to-back home games until the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing that's hard. So, like, where everybody else in the conference has home games that are at least back-to-back, even though you might have a road-heavy schedule, they go back and forth for the first 11 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
So that's
and cross-country. I mean, golly.
So after that second stint and their second of 3 bye weeks, they'll have the third and final bye week on Saturday, November the 15th, and it's a 2-game draw, I guess, there to close out the season. You will be at home at Stanford Stadium on Saturday, November 22nd. After having traveled all the way to North Carolina, you'll have a couple weeks to get ready for the Cal Golden Bears, some Pac-12 action, And then they close out the season on Saturday, November the 29th at home. So as you just mentioned, like they finally get back-to-back home games for the first time all year. And it's the final 2 games of the year. And it's Cal, and then it is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So that is how they will close things out, is Stanford, Notre Dame on Saturday, November 29th at home there in Palo Alto in Stanford Stadium. So, yeah, there you go. Really weird schedule. A game bye week. 4 games bye week, 5 games bye week, 2 games to close it out, and the 3 bye weeks, obviously the game traveling to Hawaii made that happen. So, yeah, you're starting off there in Honolulu, and you're ending back at home. But, man, you are taking some trips to Dallas and to Miami and to Charlottesville and to Provo. And
those are some pretty places.
I mean, it'll be cool road trips, no doubt about it. Like,
Yep.
I think the saving grace of it is if you're probably most Stanford people are big money people, but if you're one of those that can afford to travel around, like, this is a great schedule.
How many are they going to have? I don't know. This is not but how they don't really do well selling out their own stadium. So I wonder what kind of a travel party they would have, even though these are some very special places to be able to go. Everybody in the chat, for the most part, says they might win a game or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a 2-10 schedule right now. So
and an interim coach on top of that.
And an interim coach who has made it very clear that he's going to be there for the rest of the year, and that's it. Like, he's there to help out.
Yeah, I said, now imagine if this was volleyball, because remember we talked about some of the Pac-12 school or the ACC schools, and they said, well, it's volleyball, they'd win because they're really good at volleyball.
If I were Stanford, honestly, I would like when I got to Notre Dame, I would sit down with their president and AD and be like, so this major independence thing.
Yeah, well, how's it going for you?
Tell me how that is, because look, Cal can't do that. Although they do have some money at Cal, but given the fact that they had to get some of UCLA's money, it's not the same. But
it might have been out of spite.
Yeah, it might have been. But Stanford has more money than anyone. I would go to Notre Dame and be like, hey, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if anybody could probably swing it, it would be Stanford.
That's
along with Notre Dame.
And look, if I'm Sacramento State right down the road, I might taunt them into doing it.
Although the thing about that is like you're going to have little to absolute zero TV money. Like that has to come in. Like Notre Dame still makes really good TV money. Yeah. Stanford would have nothing without a conference alliance. But yeah, I mean, in theory, like if somebody could do it, you would think it would be them. But I think the lack of
they
any
can just
TV,
go take the Apple deal.
Take the whole chunk of that bad boy.
Have Apple stream every one of your games or all offset of it. Yeah,
go right for it. So there is the schedule for Stanford. Teams they don't play: Louisville, Duke, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Syracuse. Amongst those, I may be missing a name or two, but that's for the most part the big names that jump off the page at me when I look at their schedule and see who's missing. So you do miss out on, potentially some pretty good teams like Georgia Tech or like a Syracuse or any of the others that I mentioned, but you're getting your fair share. Like you're getting plenty on your plate. You're not catching too much of a break with all of the travel and the teams that are on there. So 3-9 for the 5th consecutive season. I think the thoughts are that streak will probably snap because they might be below that. But 3-9 with that schedule might actually, in an interim head coach, be a good thing if you were able to accomplish that, because I think we all see the schedule and think that would be like the ideal scenario was winning 3 games on this schedule. So, yeah, we'll see if that streak continues or not, but it's going to be tough sledding for the Cardinal in 2025.
Jump out, get a win on the road against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, and you never know. Although right after that, man, the sledgehammer with what BYU brings to the table. Thank you, Craig. Who's next? Who's next on the ACC? Syracuse, and Fran Brown will be tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed some of this. It's really been fun to have. A couple of days we've missed or whatever, but to kind of look at the various schedules of the Power 4 programs around the country, and we will include Washington State and Oregon State. When we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, a lot going on. The Final Four this weekend, baseball now in a full week into the season, the Masters next week and more. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Fastest growing pizza brand in America. A lot of times I tell you about what the specials are, and they always have them online if you want to go to marcos.com. Bob Mock, the owner of 5 locations in Waco, in Hewitt, Belmead, Woodway, Robinson, and also China Spring. And also, because I mentioned they're the fastest growing pizza brand in America, they are looking for those who want to be a part of buying a franchise, to be a part of that. Pretty good business decision, especially since they have the growth that they have. If you like the pizza, they have it in different ways. They have other particular items as far as sandwiches and more, Pozzolis, obviously soft drinks available if you want that, wings, salad. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome back into 365 Sports. Time for Off the Radar, taking a look at some stories outside of just our normal look into college football or dabbling with the Cowboys or whatever else there might be. An opportunity to talk about just a variety of different things here. So let's open up the grab bag today and see what we have in store. And I think it's going to be a lot of NFL. And starting off with the announcement by the NFL from a couple of days ago that after some pretty immense success on Netflix last Christmas, the NFL is planning a triple header in 2025. 2 games will air on Netflix on December 25th, followed by a nightcap, as ESPN phrased it, on Amazon Prime. The league confirmed that report yesterday, or excuse me, a couple days ago at the annual league meetings that have been ongoing. So you had last year 2 games. You had the Ravens and the Texans. You also had the Chiefs and the Steelers. Had an average of nearly 25 million viewers for both of those broadcasts. And according to Nielsen and also to Netflix, 65 million people watched at least a minute of those streaming presentations. So that's when you get into like the kind of minutia. I'm just sort of almost reading a press release at that point. But it was very successful, that being the point. And so why not add another one to it? And so now Amazon Prime will have a 3rd game for you on Christmas. So a triple header on Christmas Day. Sorry, NBA. that was your day there for a while, but no longer. It will be like anything else the NFL touches, theirs, and we will see who will play in those games when the schedule gets released next month.
Just gobble up the entire world.
And here's the thing: the NBA has been doing this. Isn't like college football, who abandoned December, who just left it open for them to do it. This is like the NBA was doing this. I mean, since I was a kid. I mean, I remember watching Michael Jordan play on Christmas Day. That's what I remember. And then now they're like, you know what? No, we're coming for you. We don't care what day of the week it's on either. If it's on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, we're going to play on Christmas Day. So get out the way.
Yeah.
We're making some cash.
Isn't there get out the way? What's the name of that song?
Oh, God, don't ever do that again.
Yeah. That was
do that again. That was ludicrous, like 27 years ago. Yes.
Well, I mean, that's for me, 27 years ago. That's hot. That's
I'm just glad you didn't do the move, bitch, right before that, because that's the part that you didn't remember. But, that was... That could be your karaoke song. I would pay to see that for sure. Next road trip.
Well, Emery, stop laughing.
No, but so there you have that. There's going to be a triple header NFL games, triple header of NFL games on Netflix and Amazon Prime, and we will learn who those teams will be coming up. But it's going to be star-studded, like when it was all focused on the NBA. Typically, what'd you see? It was LeBron and whoever he was playing for, and it was a lot of the most popular teams, and so. I think we'll get some pretty good games there on Christmas Day. But, the NFL takeover continues. And they are mulling, and it seems like it's only a matter of time until there's an 18th game that gets added. My question is I'm not like – I haven't sat down and really formed an opinion about this. I'm all for more sports to watch, and that's another weekend that has football on it that didn't otherwise have it. But at what point are you playing too many damn games? Like, I thought we were worried about the health and safety about 3 years ago, and we were worried about concussions and all these other things, and now we're playing 18 games in, like, less than 5 years' time. So I know that technology has advanced and helmets have advanced, and so there's maybe less concerns about some of those things. But what is the end game, I wonder? Like, are we talking about 20-game NFL seasons in the 2040s or something like that? Like, I don't have an opinion either way. I wonder.
Can they make money is the end game. When they stop making money is when they stop adding games.
The players don't want it. So the biggest thing that they're going to have to do is
get something in return.
But it's going that way. I mean, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop it at all. The NFL Players Union is probably third in strength of the Big Four, even though, like, they're the biggest league, which is why they're the
NBA
biggest league.
And MLB,
MLB is the strongest.
Well, the NBA, I mean, they basically do whatever they want, it feels like.
Well, and the other thing is the NBA owners are not near as antagonistic because they don't have as many employees to worry about.
Well, there's that, and I just think that they understand the players have the power more than maybe the NFL feels like. The NFL feels like the owners still have the power, and the NBA feels like the players really control things.
Yeah, the other thing is like because of like Europe and all that, there is like at least some chance that I don't even remember the last time that they had the lockout that team in Greece is like, look, LeBron James and Kobe and everybody can come over here and we'll pay them, twice as much as what they make just for the 1 year until the lockout's over. It's worth it to us. I'm a Greek billionaire. I dance and break plates and I don't give a crap, Right. So there's at least that concern that they can be like, you know what? I'll just go like, you guys are going to mess with me? We'll just go make Eurobasket really good.
Yeah. So there's another part of what came out of the meetings, annual league meetings this week. There's a couple of other notes from it. And the next one of those is that the tush push is hanging around for at least a little while longer. The move that the Eagles have made as famous as anybody and have certainly utilized as well as anyone on their way to winning the Super Bowl this past season. I mean, they are the ones that are the face of the tush push, you would say, right? When you put the rule up on the projector to talk about why it should be banned, like you're showing Jalen Hurts and his offensive line lining up and saying, this is the reason why it needs to be banned. But the Eagles don't have to fret that big change because deliberations and talks about eventually changing it are going to continue on as they did not vote to ban the tush push, a rule that was put out there as on the part of the Packers initially, but 16 teams did apparently vote for it. Not enough, though, to make the rule change.
They need 24.
Yeah, I think they need 24. I'll double check on that. But, yeah, that's what I read last night. So fell short of the actual threshold needed to change. So your thoughts on the tush push? I feel like people have, like, you're either pro or anti. Like, unlike what I was just talking about with how many games do you play, I think there's a lot of people that they don't care. They just wonder. On the tush push, I feel like people have a camp. You either think it's good or bad.
It's working, so people don't like it. The Eagles won the championship, so it's not fair, right? Isn't that the way it is? How long is Jalen Hurts going to continue to be able to do that? That doesn't mean you wait until he retires or whatever, but it's something that they came up with. Other people can do that. Get somebody else that could do it for you at quarterback on those particular plays.
Well, good luck finding somebody with legs like that.
Well, I mean, it's got to be maybe somebody that's got a position. But, yeah, no, he's a 600 whatever it is. I don't know what the overall squat. He does probably more than that. He's a unique player, and they're trying to take away how you use a unique player.
Yeah. No,
but 24 out of 32 votes, and I think that's what it is. That's a lot more to get to from what was basically nothing. But they did get to 16 pretty quickly.
The Cowboys were opposed. The Cowboys, no surprise, were opposed to it because they have to see it twice a year.
Yeah.
They had a list of the teams that I guess were publicly for or against. Teams in support of the tush push: Baltimore, Carolina, Cleveland, Houston, Indianapolis, New England, New Orleans, the Jets, and the Eagles. The Eagles, obviously. Some of the reasons. They had out there, Kellen Moore said he's comfortable with the play. Obviously, he came from the Eagles, so there's another guy in their camp. That also probably worked in their favor. Is you have, like, now you got a vote from the Saints that you might not otherwise have had.
Yeah, there's 4 of his or 3 of his head coaches, like Gannon, Steichen, and Moore are out there all with him.
So now you have more support. D'Amico Ryan said it's tough to punish a team for being really good at something. So he supports it. Kevin Stefanski of Cleveland said he's not in favor of legislating the play out of the game. Dave Canellis of the Panthers, there's no data to suggest it's a definitely dangerous play and that the Eagles have simply mastered the execution. So those were some of the takes from teams and coaches that voted against the opposition of the tush push. Those who opposed it that are known: Atlanta. Raheem Morris has been very outspoken about it. Buffalo. As Sean McDermott says, he's worried about player safety. The Cowboys, Stephen Jones said that they were going to vote against it. Green Bay, obviously, they proposed it. And the L.A. Rams, Sean McVay saying he hopes the play is banned because he doesn't like the optics and says it doesn't look like football to me. Credit to CBS Sports for that quote. So those were some of the detractors. So not the entire league, obviously, but you kind of see the two camps.
Yeah, I think eventually it will get banned as part of – it will be part of the whole thing, like I said the other day, of you're not going to be able to do that with running backs either when – you run up behind them after they've gotten tackled and shove them ahead. Mm-hmm. Because that's the same thing in the, if you want to go through the laws of physics, it's the same thing. I am not shocked the Cowboys voted against it, not only because they have to see it twice a year, but also because this is them admitting, hey, we are really bad at drafting defensive tackles. Yeah. We have no idea how to do it. So please ban this thing because every time we do it, we watch a YouTube video of Mozzie Smith hopping upstairs and go, oh, this guy's going to be a monster, and then it doesn't work out well.
Yeah. So another an actual official vote will take place in May, and so maybe we get different news. But it seems as of right now they're pretty far short of the threshold that would need to be met. So they need another known 8 teams to basically flip their vote to get this passed next month. But it will be voted on officially next month. But as of now, not going to ban the tush push, and that was one of the big talking points of the league meetings.
Kim Coulter, Josh Allen is bigger than Hurts, and yet they don't have the same success running it at times as Philadelphia's had.
No, there's an art to it. There's definitely an art that Philadelphia has
mastered. And you thought if it was Kelsey maybe was part of that, the center, but They did it last year when Kelsey retired.
Yeah, so they tabled the vote. We'll see again next month, but 16 teams are in favor. You need 8 more to actually make that happen, though, next month if you do want to get it banned. Seems like it'd be a pretty big hill to climb for Green Bay and their fellow detractors. So there was that. And one final note from the league meetings on just the various rules changes or lack of rules changes. The regular season overtime rules have also been changed. So you had the tush push, you got just all the various contract negotiations that are going on. You got NFL on Christmas Day adding a game, but you also have regular season OT change as the NFL is adopting the playoff overtime format, which means that both teams get a chance to play offense regardless of whether or not a touchdown is scored by the team with the opening possession. So obviously recently you get the ball first, you score a touchdown, the game's over with. The other team doesn't even see the ball. That will not happen now. The other team gets a chance, but it will be a 10-minute period. So they are shortening the time. And so there are detractors to this. Like, well, there's going to be a lot of ties because how can you guarantee that there's going to be enough time for somebody to separate? But I don't know. I think I like this. I didn't like you played so hard that you both fought and you were equal at the end of 4 full quarters, and now we're going to decide who gets the advantage on the flip of a coin.
Right, and most of the time ended it with a field goal. Yep.
I just thought that was BS, so I like this change. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm for it.
Well,
I'm for it.
I like it. The 10-minute thing, so let's say that you get the opening kickoff and overtime possession, and you go 12 plays, whatever amount of yards, and take 10 minutes off the clock and score. Does that mean the other team still gets the ball?
Say that again?
So you get the opening possession. It's a 10-minute clock, right? Overtime?
Oh, I think that I don't know the exact verbiage, but, yeah, you're still going to get the ball.
Okay,
so, yeah.
well, I'm just saying, if you go on a 12-play, 75-yard drive and you score a touchdown or whatever, or kick a field goal, doesn't matter. If there's no time left, they have to put time left, and it's an open clock for the second possession.
That's a move they call the Kentucky now. After what they did to A&M over last weekend.
What was that, 7 overtimes?
No, over the weekend with running out the clock in baseball. Where they stalled as much as they could to just finished out
there's a minute
the
left.
8th inning, and so they didn't have to play a 9th.
And you start substituting, and oh, my God. I do like that they don't end it the first time with the field goal. Then they changed it. They've changed it, modified it again. I like it this time.
Yeah, and there was talk about moving it to 15 minutes. They're staying at 10 minutes, not changing that. I believe I said they changed it, but I think it's staying at 10 minutes rather than changing to 15, which was a part of the original proposal that was brought on by the Philadelphia Eagles. So there you go with that. There was some other stuff. I'm just not going to waste more time on it, but the kickoff rules are still being looked at and tweaked after last season. There's replay stuff as well. So if you're into all of the NFL rules, there's more out there that you can get off the bone. There's more meat on the bone for you to go check out if you want to. But there's kind of the highlights from the league meetings and some of the decisions that were made one way or the other. Now just a couple more notes, and it will be NFL related. Geno Smith, former West Virginia star, is getting paid handsomely, and he is heading to Las Vegas after a career resurgence and doing some big-time things in Seattle. He is now linking back up with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, and he is the Raiders' new $75 million man as they sign him to a contract extension shortly after trading for him 2 years, the extension worth $75 million. And there were questions about what Las Vegas would do in the draft, and it seemed like, hey, go get Shedeur Sanders, or go, depending on where you fall, how the quarterbacks fall, they clearly need a quarterback. Well, they're probably still going to draft a young quarterback. It's just not going to be anywhere close to near the top of the draft at this point because they're investing in Geno Smith, and he's going to be their guy for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah. I still don't think it would preclude them if Shedeur Sanders dropped to them from taking him.
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't think it would.
Probably not, but yeah.
I mean,
you need some other players, though, man.
Yeah, the thing is, they are so far away.
Right.
It would be wise
not to store a quarterback.
Yeah, not to draft a quarterback and start so that when you do have that opportunity to draft a quarterback once Geno Smith is done, they have some offensive linemen and wide receivers and playmakers and more guys on defense than just Max Crosby.
Especially when you're already paying Geno $75 million over 2 years.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, what?
But I know what you're saying, though.
But if you walked into the Raiders, draft hub right now in their war room and said, "What positions do you not need?" They'd be like, the defensive end, like
starting quarterback,
one defensive end and starting quarterback, and then every other position on the field is open.
Yeah. Who's
and a tight end and
the kid
Brock
from
Bowers.
Baylor that was at the Texans forever? Where's he at now? He moved the long snapper.
Yeah, he's San Francisco.
Okay,
I think.
all right. Yep, you've been there for
John Weeks left.
What made you think of that?
Well, they're looking for a position they don't need help, but I was thinking they might have.
They might. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I don't think that's near the top of the list of the priorities, though.
What a great job if you're good at it, though.
Yeah, if you're good at it.
Oh.
Yeah, if you're good at it. And then we'll end with the biggest news from all of the last few days of NFL talk. Clearly, the Cowboys landing their backup quarterback, Joe Milton III. The Cowboys acquiring him and a 2025 seventh-round pick from the Patriots, along with Dallas sending a 2025 fifth-round pick. So they get Milton and a seventh-rounder coming up I guess next month. When is the draft? That's
it's this month.
This month, yeah.
It's
this
3
month.
weeks.
Man.
3 weeks from now.
Yeah, well, great. That's great. But yeah, they'll get a seventh-round pick along with Milton later this month. New England gets the fifth-rounder later this month. So yeah. Obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, but we are sliding into some Cowboys news here in a few minutes with Mickey Spagnuolo, so I'm sure this will be a talking point. But there's some news for you out of Dallas. Paul is active offseason. Hey, they're not just sitting on their hands.
Got a gun.
He's got a gun. He does.
I absolutely think this was a great move. They were going to have to use a draft pick on a quarterback that I don't think is where they were because they don't have a backup quarterback right now. So I think this is actually a really good move. The pick that they traded is probably one of the ones that they would have used to take someone like Kyle McCord.
Or compensatory pick?
Yeah, it's one of the compensatory picks. So, hey, they got a seventh-round pick back for it, which I'll tell you, once you get to the end of the fifth round, the difference between the end of the fifth round and the top or middle of the seventh round is negligible.
Buddy, I said this yesterday. There's teams that are going like, I knew his cousin in college, and I'm going to draft him now in the seventh round. Like, there's that kind of stuff going on.
So, like, once you get past the fourth round, it's like kind of all bets are off. So I'm all for this. He's got a really good arm. It's kind of a combination of, okay, we could draft a guy and see. We already know what exists in Joe Milton. Let's go ahead and get him because Joe Milton is better than most of the quarterbacks that you would draft in those rounds anyway. So I think it works out for both sides.
There's a highlight, Paul, of him in a game where he dances around, escapes some pressure, and throws an absolute BB right in the corner.
His entire draft profile was the strongest arm that anybody's seen. Like, that was the entire talk about him.
So, like, if you look at Trey Lance, who might be going to the CFL, by the way, which I think is a great idea for him.
Richest CFL player in a really long time.
And look, I think he'll be like Jumbo Flutie there. But Trey Lance, this is kind of like the middle of the road between Trey Lance and a veteran. Like, yeah, this is a developmental thing, but he'll be a lot better than a lot of the guys they could draft and put in there. And then it's cheaper also than a veteran that they go out and sign. And they may still go out and sign another veteran. I don't think they do that. I think that Joe Milton's the backup now.
Well, congrats to Joe Milton and the Cowboys on appearing to make a positive move. It's been a little bit of a rough offseason at times. But
leads me to believe that I bet you they liked him last year a lot and then just didn't get the shot to get him.
Quite possibly. I think Mickey can probably fill us in a little bit on that, but there's a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Are you exhausted? Back-to-back segments, Stanford Cardinal and the off the radar.
You might not hear from me for a little while, so yeah.
Craig, you mentioned earlier when we were on break about TJ Finley, who's been suspended indefinitely from Tulane. This story is it's interesting. I sent you the statement from his attorney. He was apparently the victim of a Facebook marketplace scam. He purchased a used pickup truck from an individual who presented himself as John Spillway, representing Mountain Adventures, LLC. Spillway presented TJ with both a bill of sale and registration, giving TJ every reason to believe the purchase was legitimate. Within 3 days of the purchase, Tulane police informed TJ the truck had been reported stolen. TJ looks forward to continue to cooperate fully and blah, 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 and get financial restitution and bring the criminals to justice. But let this be a lesson to you people out there. Don't buy a truck off Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, for real. I mean, there's scammers everywhere you look. And so glad that there's some reporting on that and not just everybody. I haven't gone to look, but I'd imagine there's probably some knee-jerk responses of he's an idiot and blah, 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 and this and that, which you could argue that buying a truck on Facebook Marketplace, but it's not as though he went out and stole a car or however the headline could be, perverted. Sounds like the victim of a scam, and that sucks. That absolutely sucks. But, yeah, he's suspended for the time being from Tulane. I don't think we had talked about that on air. So, I hope he gets that all figured out.
He was at Auburn? Auburn, Texas State?
LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, and now Tulane.
Yeah.
And he has 3 years of eligibility remaining.
I'm sure.
And I when I interviewed the young man who's transferring from Wyoming to play for Scott Drew, I want to get back to the fact that somebody brought this up in the chat. Is anyone keeping track of the APR? Remember that you have to have a certain number, or anyone keeping track of who's on progress to get a degree?
I'm sure that they've had to amend it because of this. Because, it's not the coaches or the program's fault that they're not on track.
No, I'm just telling you, that Kirby's smart. I know that some of what he said was just trying to make sure it looked like he cared about everything. But one of the things again is that I know we forget this, especially with now athletes getting paid, but are they on pace to graduate? And if not, okay, that's their business. They can do what they want. When we come back, we will hear from Mickey Spagnuolo. Speaking of the devil, he will join us. Hey, by the way, thanks to Diane, who sent me an email. We'll probably get to this maybe on Friday, about the comparisons between Shedeur Sanders and his career at Jackson State, Colorado, and Cam Ward, Incarnate Word, Washington State, and Miami. And they're almost like looking in the mirror when it comes to statistics. It's not what the pros look at, but thanks to Diane, thank you very much for that email. We'll try to get to it tomorrow, and this is 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected. Get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that, but thank you to our great friend Jim Cutler, the Cutler Voiceover Inc. with Don and Jim, the voice of 365 Sports and the voice of what we do. Hit the like and subscribe button. We would appreciate that very, very much. Have we mentioned Andrew Valade today?
No, I don't think we have.
We should. We should say hi to Andrew and that he's doing what he's doing. And then Emery Winter is here, the silent assassin, also with Garrett Ross running the mothership. Let's do the Shedeur and Cam Ward stuff. You want to do that, Garrett? This is from our great friend in Alaska, Diane. Just kind of going through the statistics. Now, again, the pros are looking at a lot of things, many things. But here are just kind of curious. These are the 1 and 2 quarterbacks. Passing yards per season, Cam at a slight edge, couple hundred yards per year. Completion percentage, Shedeur slightly higher. Passing touchdowns, Shedeur couple back. This is per year over the entire career. Shedeur threw slightly less interceptions. We had, yesterday John Cooper said one of the things about Cam Ward is that he's a little bit reckless with the ball. Mm-hmm. Not much difference, but an interception and a half a year. And then rushing touchdowns, they're mobile, but they're not known. Like, again, this is not going to be somebody that's going to get loose like, for example, Lamar Jackson.
Cam is a little bit more mobile than Shedeur is. But they're going to be like Aaron Rodgers mobile, where it's can you wrap them up? Can you keep them in the well? And I think that's going to be one of their strengths. I am curious to see what Shedeur Sanders will look like if he goes to a team with a legit offensive line, probably not right off the bat they will. Like if he winds up with the Giants, that's going to be maybe a little bit of an issue, although they've improved that over last year. But they have a good running back there with the Giants with a running game where you don't have to be like, hey, Shedeur, I hope you throw for 350 plus today. Otherwise, we're losing this game.
Remember how he was mauled in that game early in the year at Nebraska?
Now, he will, one of the knocks on Shedeur is that he will hold the ball a little too long and take some sacks.
Yep.
But I think part of that is because, they had it has to be a complete pass or we're not going to score on this drive. So he was waiting for that perfect moment, which if you go to a team in the NFL that is good at what they do, you don't have to worry about that.
You wonder if his receivers at an NFL team are as good as the ones he had at Colorado. They are because they're in the NFL, but they had some pretty good receivers. Both played 2 years, by the way, on G5 schools or non-FBS schools, with Jackson State and Incarnate Word being where Cam Ward came from. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, joins us. And Mickey, now that the Cowboys have secured Joe Milton, that trade to Cleveland for Dak Prescott and company, I guess you can carry on because you have somebody as a replacement.
Don't even start.
You're getting scruffy, by the way.
Mickey, the guy came back on the air for the first time in a week this week and doubled down on it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
The guy in Cleveland?
Yeah, he doubled down. He's like, listen, I'm not backing off this. My information is good. And again, like I said last week, let's just pretend that between September and now, when Dak Prescott signed that contract with a no-trade clause that he agreed to and wanted in there, has decided, you know what, I hate it here. It's too hot. I don't want to be in Texas anymore. I'm moving on, and the only place that I can be and be happy is Cleveland, Ohio. There is no way for either team to pull off the trade and remain functional for about 4 years.
Well, I guess he just ignores the $189 billion in dead money.
Yeah, you couldn't be like, there's a way they could just do it and say, damn the torpedoes, and then try to sign players for the minimum for 2-3 years. But that's not a way to function.
Well, I'm just glad I never followed up on it to know where it came from and who it came from, because I don't want to give that guy any presence anywhere.
Yeah, but Mickey, I really do like the move for Joe Milton. It feels like he might have been a guy they might have considered drafting a year ago given that they kind of knew a little bit about him, but maybe didn't get the opportunity or just didn't fall to them the right way. And given that the pick that they sent away is likely the one or one of the ones that they would have considered drafting someone like Kyle McCord or Tyler Shuck anyway, this to me is, you draft your quarterback a month early, really.
This is their drafted. They said they wanted to draft a young quarterback. Well, they just did. And I keep hearing that everybody's assuming that he's the backup quarterback. Let's slow down on that, right? How many games in the NFL has he played?
One.
Yeah. So the day tomorrow, you start the season and Dak gets hurt, and it's like, okay, this guy's in with one game of NFL experience, and he's gonna help us win the game. So to me, this is the drafted young quarterback, and all it cost them basically was one of the compensatory 5th round picks, right? And I'm sure they looked at the draft and said, okay, what can I get in the 5th round? And they probably looked and said, not anything better than this guy, and I can get him now, right? And they need a quarterback now because the offseason, and it's just the strength and conditioning, right, starts on Monday. So when they get to the point where it's time to, start doing on-field stuff, who's throwing? Dak Prescott isn't.
Yeah.
So all you got is Will Grier at this point. And here's the other thing. Everybody goes, wow, here they go. Same thing with Trey Lance. Trey Lance showed up a week before the start of the season. He got no training camp, no offseason, and no preseason games. So now this guy, it can come in and he can start learning with the rest of them with an altered offensive scheme. He's going to go through the entire offseason. He'll go through the entire training camp and probably play a whole lot in the preseason because I can't imagine they're going to put Dak in there for anything more than a half. Now, having said that, this does not preclude them signing a veteran backup that has experience. You don't have to keep, basically the way I look at it is that guy still hasn't been signed, and Will Grier and Milton will compete for the 3rd spot. So don't just assume that they're done at the backup quarterback position because, you guys understand that once the season starts, the backup quarterback basically gets no snaps during the week of practice. So his improvement has to be in the offseason and in the preseason and training camp. But once the season starts, the most that backup quarterback's going to get is working with the scout team. So they get a jump on this now for the price of a 5th round pick, and they don't have to wait till first week in May for that next quarterback to show up.
Mickey Spagnola with us, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, they have a lot of picks, right? They have the compensatory. Would they get a couple of those? Maybe they just gave up one with this particular trade. But don't they have a nice chunk? Is there a round in which they are barren where they don't have a pick?
The 4th round.
Okay.
And that was the Joe Mingo trade for the wide receiver from Carolina. So they're still probably, I think they still, with all the trading and, what they got back in what they traded for, I still think, and I just printed it out, I still think they have 10 picks. Now, a couple of those are in the 7th round instead of in the 5th round. But again, you might be able to package something together to get back into the 4th round, which, that's kind of a sweet spot in the draft, the 4th round. You get to the 5th round, things are getting kind of thin. But yeah, they've got a bunch of draft picks. The key thing will be you got to hit on those first 3 picks, the first 2 days You got to be players. I just saw on our website, I think the mailbag question, should they trade up for Genty? And I'm going, is he the last piece in the puzzle? Because they got a lot of puzzle pieces missing. And I think these first three draft choices are going to be very important to putting this roster back together.
Yeah, Mickey, I would love to see Genty fall to them. And if they had to trade up a pick to get him, I don't think I'd mind it. But like going up to 7 or 8 or something, then that to me would be, or 6, that would probably be beyond the pale. But I do think given that like the guys who, 1 to 10 are gone and like some of the ones that fit what they need, plus the best player available, they might be able to pick up that 4th round pick by trading back in the 1st round a couple of picks, because I think that would be very much on the table given as many needs that they have and where certain guys are. Although I do think that they probably would rather stay at 12 and get a guy.
Yeah, I don't want to see them drop too far. Maybe like a spot 18, or two. Because when I did my study on their draft, when they were drafting top 17, they hit.
Yeah,
almost every one of them. It's when you start drafting in the 20s that things get a little dicey, because you've run out of guys on your draft board that have first-round grades. The average is 15 to 17 first-round grades every year. And once you get in the 20s, that's a second-round pick. Everybody can moan about Mozzie Smith. Well, he was a second-round pick. He was at 26. He is a first-rounder, but the grade certainly wasn't a first rounder. But chances were that if that's who they wanted, you weren't going to get them in the 2nd round. And same thing with Guyton, 29th pick. That's a 2nd round grade. So again, don't drop too far, because they've been pretty darn good when they're in the top 17. And I cut it off at 17, by the way, because that's where they picked up Emmitt Smith and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah. Well, I was going to bring up CD because I didn't think he would be available, and what a great choice. Of course, Emmett, the Steelers, and all that. Who did they took? James Francis, is that right?
That's who they want.
That's right.
Jimmy was trying as hard as he could to get the linebacker Baylor, right?
Yeah.
And he couldn't trade up high enough to get ahead of. Well, he ended up going to Kansas City, if I remember correctly, and they needed to get ahead of the Chiefs, and they couldn't get a trade high enough to draft him. And then even after he got drafted, Jimmy was trying to make a trade with the team that took him to
Cincinnati.
That's right. And they were trying to get Cincinnati to trade him, and they couldn't do it. And it's like, that's who they wanted. And then they ended up with Emmitt Smith, and they had to trade up for him, right? They were at 21. They traded up to Pittsburgh because they knew there was a bunch of teams right behind, ahead of them that wanted running backs. And sure enough, Green Bay took one. The Giants took one. And I believe it was Atlanta took one right after the Cowboys traded up to get Emmitt Smith. So, yeah. Sometimes, you just got to be quick on your feet. From the NFL meetings, what I kept hearing is they want somebody that's dynamic, somebody that, going to get me sacks or going to get me touchdowns. Well, let's not rule out the possibility of a wide receiver. And by the way, I've seen some lists out there. They started their 30 visits today. And 3 of the names in there were all wide receivers. McMillan, Arizona State. Ibuka, how do you say it? Ibuka from Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Luther Burden from the University of Missouri.
He seems to me to fit a Cowboys, just like he's dynamic. He's not really as big as I thought. He looks bigger. What is he, like 6'2" or so? It looks like I thought he was 6'4". But he's not
6'4". No, not at all. But he's kind of built like Deebo Samuel. Mm-hmm. And boy, and I know it's his head coach, but this afternoon or this morning on Sirius NFL radio, They had Eli Drinkowitz, the Missouri head coach, and he was talking about he thinks, and I know he's biased, that Burton might be the best wide receiver of the bunch with the ball in his hands, like what he can do after you get him the ball. And I certainly agree with that. Now I see a lot of mocks him dropping into the 20s. It's only because he didn't put up big numbers this year, but people forget Missouri didn't have their starting quarterback for 4 games and lost them in 2 others for at least a couple quarters. So that happened to affect their passing game very much.
Mickey, there are a lot of good choices for them that, and we don't really know how much different the offense is going to be scheme-wise from what it was. I wouldn't think that much considering, the guy who was the offensive coordinator is the head coach. I mean, it's not Mike McCarthy calling the plays, but there are some guys that fit them really well. Do you have anybody, now that we're 3 weeks out, what do you think about the running back class after Genty? Have you, Omarion Hampton, guys like that?
Yeah, I think that guy's good. The 2 guys at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sneeze on those guys. And I think I saw a list where Judkins is going to be one of their 30 visits. And they sent the top boys, the brass, to Ohio State last week for that pro day. The head coach, I believe it was Will McClay, and there was one other person. I don't know if it was Stephen Jones or who else went up there, but they had their eye on those guys at Ohio State for sure.
Well,
and what I saw of Junkins, and I didn't watch all Ohio State, but when I saw playoff games, I'm like, well, okay, that guy can play for me.
Yeah. Caught a pass, touchdown. He's a hell of a player at Ole Miss. Just came to Ohio State, even though they knew they had Henderson and others and that loaded roster, and I kind of like that. I really do.
And you mentioned, David, Henderson, and I listened to an interview with him from the Combine, and he was there, right? Judkins transferred from Ole Miss, was it? And yes. They asked him, they said, well, when that happened, what was your thought? And he goes, we're going to have 2 great running backs. I'm not transferring. I'm a competitor, and I'll compete for my reps. And they had a pretty good 1-2 punch, 2-1 punch, whatever order you want to put those guys in. And I don't know, Paul, you may know better, but I don't know if those guys are 1st-round picks or certainly a 2nd-round pick. They'd be standing on their heads.
I think they could easily get one of them in the 2nd round. I think that you get in the 3rd round, you start getting guys like Scadaboo and all that, which I think would also be great.
Don't go to sleep on Martinez.
Damian
Martinez.
Damian Martinez from Miami and Oregon State. Yeah.
Louisville High School, by the way.
Yeah.
I saw him play in high school, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he went to, I think it was Oregon State, and then transferred to Miami.
Yeah.
He's pretty darn good, and he's got some good size on him too.
Yeah, and there's guys in the late rounds, that they could get if they wanted to, but I think they're probably gonna get theirs before the 3rd round ends, I would think.
Yeah,
Mickey.
And somebody asked me, so which of these 2 positions do you want? And I said, well, tell me the position that has the most depth, because then I can get that guy in the 2nd round. Give me the player at the position where it's a little bit thin, and if I don't get him in the 1st, then I'm really going down the ladder on picking a guy in the 2nd or 3rd at that position. So to me, that's got to be a consideration for him.
Yeah, Mickey, I think that the top 3 rounds, I would say running back, wide receiver, guard, and cornerback, maybe linebacker are the ones that they would probably like to get in those 3 picks, right?
Well, I don't want a true guard.
Yeah.
I'll take one of those in maybe the 3rd round.
Yeah, in the 3rd round.
But if you can give me a tackle that can play guard until I can move him out to tackle, that would be ideal.
Yeah, but cornerback would not shock me.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, that would not shock me.
Think about it. Trayvon Diggs not going to be ready to start the season.
Nope.
I'll guarantee you that. So it's Deron Bland and
Wake Forest, Kalen Carson.
Yeah.
And some other guys.
Season on
and Kyer
IR.
That's the guy that started.
And Kyer Elam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that guy hadn't played much ball at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Carson had to play and it played fairly well early, and everyone overreaction because you don't know much about him. And then, of course, he really started to struggle.
He lost his confidence somewhere along the line, David, after he got hurt.
Which is what was his strength, was that he came in as an unknown, basically, and had great confidence in himself. And it just, like you said, maybe one play didn't work out, and he just lost it.
He remember Dak Prescott in training camp nicknamed him Seatbelt. Nicknamed him Seatbelt because he was always latched on to the receiver, right?
Yep.
He had him wrapped up, and he had a heck of a training camp, and he ended up having to start, right? And so. But again, you got to fill that the nickel spot, losing Jordan Lewis. So, you could be out without two of your top three corners from last year in at least the first couple of weeks of the season until Trayvon Diggs gets back. And then there's no guarantee that after that knee procedure he had, that he's, exactly the same guy. So, as I keep saying, Deron Bland, and I keep forgetting Kyer Elam. But again, when he's been in the league, 3 years, I think, and he's only started 12 games. I think it's maybe one of those, hey, he was a first-round pick. We liked him coming out of Florida. Let's see, maybe we can revive his career, but it's no guarantee.
On Tyler Guyton.
Yes.
What is he? What is he, and what do you really think? Where's he going to end up? Is he going to stay where he is, or are they going to move him around?
No, he's at tackle, and I would imagine on the left side. And again, he's another guy, second-round grade, right? And so he hadn't played much football, and he just, he started 10 games at Oklahoma. He was a tight end at first when he was at TCU. So he really hasn't played much. And so, they went through some growing pains. So now I think they got to see, can he stay healthy? Can he play through some nicks and bruises? And then is he improving? Because physically, he should be able to play that position. Now he's just got to, and he's got kind of a nasty nature. Now he just got to improve his technique. And if you're going to start him there, or if that's the idea, then get him out there in OTAs, get him out there in the offseason and just put him there and let him grind at left tackle, because they have no other alternative there also, by the way, unless they draft one.
Anything else, Paul?
Nope.
All right. Mickey, thank you very much. Who's going to win the Final Four?
Florida.
All right. Well, Paul hopes you're wrong as an FSU guy.
Yeah.
Houston and Duke and Florida and Auburn in the semifinals on Saturday.
If they do, I might win my bracket, but, I won't feel good about it.
Win it against who?
Mike Gill, my long-lost twin from Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mickey, did you do a bracket? Because
no, I didn't.
It just seemed like this year there's some that didn't. Craig didn't. I did one, and I'm having the best year ever. But just lucky because all the high seeds are all the better seeds are winning.
I'm having the best year ever because I don't have to grind on every game and every position, right?
Yeah.
Hoping for my bracket, so I'm just kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
See you. Mickey Spagnola with us on Thursdays, usually around 5:30 in the 5 o'clock hour Thursdays here on 365 Sports. There was an article today in theathletic.com. Scott Dockerman, who writes a lot for the Big Ten, Iowa, but also college football. We'll have a little bit of that tomorrow on the most popular college football programs. And he took different categories: attendance, Google searches, many things that are unique other than just wins and losses. TV ratings were involved, but they kind of broke that into a couple of categories. And for the most part, the top 10 is who you think it is. But what order are they in? We'll have that for you tomorrow. Garrett, thank you for working on that from earlier today. This is 365 Sports, and around the corner, Paul's Top 5.
You spent hours selecting your patio sofa. Choosing that grill would have taken weeks. Probably your car needed way more time. For sure, you would have spent months mulling over that pool of yours. Protecting your prized possessions needs no time, though. Just visit coversandall.com, create a custom size per your requirements, pick a fabric and personalize your cover, and leave the rest to us. Premium protection for all that you love.
You might ask yourself what functional mushrooms are good for. Whether it's lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey tail, shiitake, reishi, they all serve a purpose.
You have ones for neurological health, ones for sleeping and gut health and all these different areas. They pack a powerful punch.
Functional mushrooms are, of the millions of mushrooms and fungi out there, the ones that we can actually ingest and benefit from as humans. Like all adaptogens, they kind of adapt to what you need at the time that you need them.
We don't even really know that we're suffering. We just don't quite feel right. That's where these adaptogens come in and really start to close the gap and really start getting us closer to how we want to feel.
Functional mushrooms have definitely re-energized me and helped me face each day with a new vigor for life.
Learn ways that functional mushrooms can help you. Go to getumble.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Ticket Club. Forget the fees, just big savings. Click the link in the description to find out more.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, presented by Ticket Club. Now, we are back on track this week doing college basketball things, and rest in peace to Val Kilmer, who took up yesterday's Top 5. But Top 5 ACC off-season questions. Let's go. Number 5. Can Will Wade get NC State back to the Final Four? This is a team that in 2024 was in the Final Four. And in 2025, they fired their coach and brought in Will Wade from McNeese. This is a guy who can get things done fast. Can he recapture some of that magic and get them back as quickly as they may want to, because they were just there and they're going to want to be there again? I think he'll be reasonably good first year. I don't think they'll be Final Four, but that's a question that NC State will be asking, like, how quickly can we get back there and possibly win it? Because they got a little bit of the taste of the drug that was winning in March, and they're going to want it bad. And they're going to give them the resources to do it for sure. Number 4, Is Louisville ready to contend? When I say contend, I mean for the conference title and make deep runs. What Pat Kelsey's done there in a year has been fantastic. He's got transfers coming in, big-time guys who score. They went from the lowest of the low, rock bottom for a college basketball powerhouse like Louisville's been, to now being a team that the rest of the ACC and the rest of the country probably needs to be a little bit wary of, because they are going. They've got a fan base that's locked and loaded and ready to go, and Pat Kelsey, year one, did a great job. Year two could be very, very interesting in Louisville. Number 3, does FSU have enough NIL to be any good? Luke Lauch's former point guard under Leonard Hamilton takes over. He comes in from the NBA, so he knows how to deal with bonus babies. That's all good. But if you look at the transfer portal guys that they've gotten and the guys who are visiting, seems like the collective and the university have given him a pretty clear diamonds in the rough objective here. You're not going to go out and get the big-time guys that are out there in the portal, but if you can find some guys that are overlooked and build around that, do that. Now, he's been able to retain some players, but for the most part, it's going to be a total rebuild there in Tallahassee. They are spending a lot of money on football for NIL because that's the most important thing and will continue to be the most important thing unless Luke Lauch wins like 5 consecutive ACC titles. Even then, would still be the most important thing. So, do they have enough NIL right now to be any good in year one, or is this a longer build-out and see how the house settlement goes and all that before FSU really invests in basketball? If they don't, they'll be at the bottom of that league. Number 2, which new coach will have the biggest impact? I've talked about 2 of them already, Will Wade and Luke Lauch. I actually think it'll be Jay Lucas at Miami. He knows that Duke way of doing things. He's one of the most exciting young coaches. He's got a really cool place to recruit to, a basketball team that was just recently in the Elite Eight, so the fan base knows what it's like to make deep runs in March. I think he will have the biggest impact early. I think it'll be Jay Lucas. Could be Will Wade. Could be somebody else. But watch Jay Lucas at Miami and how quickly he gets that thing turned around. I would bet you it's going to be stellar. Number 1, and can UNC be UNC again? Because this roller coaster ride they're on, man, it's hard for a lot of us to understand from the outside world. I'm sure it's hard for their fans to understand. They are a basketball blue blood. They are in the elite of the elite. It's got to kill them to see John Shire doing so well, them get right in the door 3 years ago and then blow it, and then since then be so up and down it's ridiculous. Probably would have been justified in leaving them out of the tournament this year, which should be unheard of in Chapel Hill. Can Hubert Davis get it right? They're going to have to let him because in December they just gave him a big extension with a huge buyout. So if you're a UNC fan going, well, we should get rid of Hubert, well, you know what? Put that in your back pocket for a while because it's going to take a minute, guys. Going to take a minute. Just signed a big extension. And, you know, he's gotten them deep runs before. We know it. But can they be good all year long and make a deep run? That's North Carolina basketball as the world knows it. Or are they swimming upstream again? That's going to do it for the top 5, and that's going to do it for the show as long as Smokey agrees.
All right, I will dismiss the class here in just a second. 365 Sports tonight on the CW tonight with the 4 best segments. Thanks to Emery Winter, who's slicing and dicing through what we've done the last 3 hours. By the way, it's cool to see a lot of you in the chat room, whether you're a Houston fan or not, who are saying go Cougs. That game, of course, against Duke on Saturday. We'll have more on that tomorrow and much more. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. Thank you. Andrew Valade is doing what he does to blow things out as much as he can on social media and doing a lot of new things with a lot of new ideas that we have coming up here in the near future, thanks to Rogue Media Network. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, thanks to you. Thank you for watching. Thanks to our sponsors. I'm David Smoak, and good night.